There are thousands of Easter eggs hiding in LEGO, like Bowser, who's literally hidden in the Question Block set, and this brick-built Woody in the Magic of Disney set. But there are also really deep-cut references, like the one in the Spider-Man Bridge Battle set. If you think you know all the Easter eggs and references in this set, guess again, because as random as this 1962 piece may look, it's a reference to something that only true Spider-Man fans would know. 1962 is actually the year when Spider-Man was first seen in a comic book. He was featured in Amazing Fantasy Volume 15, way back in the day, so I highly doubt you've ever seen it before. There's no way you know about this reference, but some of the other secrets in this video are even harder to spot, so make sure you watch all the way until the end. Up next is actually a secret second part to an Easter egg that's already super famous, and it's in the LEGO Mario Question Block set. Since this set is based on a video game, there are loads of Easter eggs you can find, but one of the most famous ones is the fact that you can pull up a tab on the front of the set and find a mini brick-built Bowser. As crazy as it sounds, this Easter egg actually has a second part. To find it, all you have to do is push down on the platform that Bowser is standing on, and an entirely separate compartment will pop out at the bottom. The coolest thing about this second part is that it's a huge reference in and of itself. In Super Mario N64, the only way Mario can beat Bowser is if he picks him up by his tail and spins him around. And with this secret platform, you can actually recreate that, which is super sick. Now, this next one is definitely weird. I'm not sure why, but apparently you can't subscribe to this channel in 3 seconds or less. I'm gonna start a timer, and if you can subscribe, let me know down in the comments. Ready? Go! Did it work? I hope it did, because I have to move on to the next secret detail. Most of the time, the craziest references in LEGO are in the pieces, especially for sets like the Daily Bugle. But this time, I have one for you that's hidden in a minifigure. This set is notorious for how many minifigures it comes with, which of course I'm not complaining about, but it makes it super easy to miss a certain detail. The Jonah Jameson minifigure has 2 faceplates on his headpiece, and one of them is a reference to a very specific scene in the movies. LEGO doesn't even advertise this on the website, so you'd literally never know he had 2. But the second faceplate is him with webs over his mouth. If you don't know the Spider-Man movies like the back of your hand, this probably went right over your head. But in Spider-Man from 2002, there's a scene where the Green Goblin attacks Jameson inside the Daily Bugle. Luckily for him, Peter was just in his office, so Spider-Man was able to get in between the two of them. However, as usual, Jameson starts running his mouth, and instead of just telling him to shut up, Spider-Man webs his mouth shut so he can't talk anymore. This was a super funny scene in the movie, and I love that the designers brought that moment over to the set. I mean, they were super dedicated. The designers leave hidden messages, like the one in the LEGO Ideas typewriter set. Since this set is in LEGO Ideas, that means it was made by a fan, and that fan's name is Steve Guinness. Instead of the typical initials that you'll usually see, like on the license plate of the James Bond car set, Guinness used this as a chance to send a message to anybody who might build his set. On the back, there's something that looks like a serial number, but these letters actually stand for something. The first 2 are his initials, but the letters that follow stand for never give up on your dreams. And honestly, this is probably the best message you can send to anybody. It sounds corny, but it packs a punch. I mean, I'm chasing my dreams right now just by making this video. So to keep things going, let me show you an Easter egg in the LEGO Atari set. If you've watched videos on LEGO Easter eggs, then you've probably seen the secret Mario level in the NES set. And this Atari one is actually pretty similar. Instead of taking a panel off like how you do for the NES, instead you just pull the flat part of the Atari forward, and when you go far enough, a cool little living room will pop up. It looks like it's supposed to be a typical kid's room back when this console first came out, but I can't be too sure. I mean, I'm not old or anything. Regardless, this is a really cool Easter egg, especially because it's basically a play feature. But there's a certain type of Easter egg in LEGO sets that's a cut above the rest. I'm talking about when LEGO throws in Easter eggs that were made in real life, like when they put the A113 logo in the Cars spy plane set, except the one I want to show you is way more well known. I'm talking about hidden Mickeys, and in case you've never heard of them, they're basically Easter eggs in real life. If you go to any Disney theme park, you can find these things hidden throughout the entire park. People go crazy looking for them, to the point where they even try to find and count every single one at every park. But what set did LEGO throw a hidden Mickey into? Well, the answer is Elsa's castle, which is low-key kinda crazy if I'm being honest. I wouldn't expect a set this small and underhyped to have an Easter egg this meaningful, but maybe that was just LEGO trying to make it harder to find. Because the harder it is to find, the more rewarding it feels. And the knowledge you need to understand the Apollo 11 lander is probably something a lot of us don't have. The details in this set are unmatched. I especially love the little minifigure footprints on the moon. But what I want to show you is actually hidden inside the lander. If you take off the top part of the set, you can see two barrels sitting near the middle, one white and one red. Well, these barrels are actually supposed to carry fuel for the rocket and an oxidizer. I just learned this right now, but apparently it's impossible to use fuel in space without an oxidizer. So not only is this set made to minifigure scale, but it's super accurate to the real world. With stuff like this, you can tell that LEGO really cares about people. But there's a new feature with certain sets that takes this meaning to a whole new level, and it's hiding in plain sight. LEGO just recently collabed with Hidden Sunflowers, a company that originated in England. They're an organization that helps people with non-visible disabilities discreetly let people know that they have one, and all they have to do is wear a sunflower lanyard. LEGO announced the collab late last year, and there are already 3 sets that feature minifigures with these lanyards. There's one in the LEGO Friends Heart Lake City Airport set, one in the up-and-coming First Time at the Airport set from LEGO Duplo, and the last one is hidden in the 2-door corner set in the Modular Buildings theme. If you take a look in the loft apartment, you'll find a tile piece on the wall with a little sunflower lanyard printed on it. The girl who lives in this apartment in the LEGO world is neurodivergent, so she lets people know by wearing her lanyard. This Easter egg has made this apartment pretty famous, but there's another LEGO apartment that's way more famous than this one, the LEGO Friends set. Obviously, this set is famous because of the show, but did you know that LEGO has an entire page on their website where they show you a ton of references in the set? LEGO claims that only the truest of Friends fans would be able to spot every reference, but by far the hardest one to know about were the chicken and duck pieces. These 2 pieces were in Joey and Chandler's apartment, and for those of you that don't get the reference, these 2 guys actually adopted a chick and a duck in season 3 of the show. Now, even though there are way more that I could talk about, I don't want to bore you guys with a bunch of Friends references. So instead, I'm going to show you some rapid-fire Easter eggs from the LEGO Movie 2 Apocalypseburg set. Since it's from a post-apocalyptic world, the designers reused a ton of LEGO elements from different sets, since the characters had to rebuild their own place to live. Number 1 is this design at the top of the set, which is actually a reference to LEGO Bionicle. Number 2 is the fact that LEGO used part of the giant truck set from 1996. Number 3 are these structures right here that look like they're straight from Ready Player One. Number 4 is that this gray piece is actually the engine from Hulk's car in the Hulk vs. Red Hulk set. And number 5 is that this piece right here is actually from the front of the Batmobile set from the LEGO Batman movie theme. All of these references are super sick, and some of them are way harder to find than others. But if there's one thing that's cooler than deep references like these, it's hidden minifigures. And the LEGO Disney Villain Icon set has loads of them. But first, take a look at this set. Isn't it sick? It's made up of some of the most popular Disney movies ever made. But not just that. They're made into VHS covers, VHS tapes, and books too. The secret minifigures are even cooler though. The first one is hidden in the apple from Snow White, where you can find the evil queen in her old woman disguise. The next one I'll show you is in the Sleeping Beauty VHS. And for this one, if you pull down at the top part of the graphic, Maleficent can be found lurking in the shadows. Next is the Aladdin tape at the bottom. And just like the Sleeping Beauty one, you just pull from the top of the graphic and find Jafar laying down. The last one is way harder to find though, and it's in the Beauty and the Beast book. At the bottom of the book, there's a little compartment that can be pulled out like a drawer, and this is where you can find Gaston. I honestly can't believe that LEGO hid this many minifigures in one set, but it makes it super fun for the builder, especially if they want to show it to someone. The hidden figures in the Capitol building set are a little different though. This set is part of the LEGO architecture theme, so the designers were super dedicated to getting every detail exactly right, including all of the statues in the middle of the set. Inside the real building, a bunch of statues surround the perimeter of the room, but since the LEGO version isn't scaled to minifigure size, the designers had to improvise. Instead of minifigs, they used blank nanofigures, one of the smallest figures made by LEGO. These figures represent the statues perfectly, so although it wasn't necessary, it makes the set that much better. Another super discreet detail can be found in the Land Rover Classic Defender set, and of course, since it's a car, it's on the back license plate. This isn't your average LEGO license plate Easter egg though. Instead of referencing the designer, these letters and numbers are actually important milestones in Land Rover's career. The first one, L316, is actually the model of Land Rover that LEGO used for the set, but the second one is a reference to a very specific Land Rover named Hugh 166. This car is quite literally called the most famous Land Rover ever, but it's for good reason. It's actually the first Land Rover ever made. Its registration number was Hugh 166, hence the name Hugh. But it's crazy that just 3 letters have such a deep backstory. When LEGO uses numbers and letters like this, it makes everyone happy. But have you ever seen a set where the number of pieces is a reference to? It's most famously done in the NASA Apollo Saturn V set, where the amount of pieces matches the year humanity first stepped on the moon, 1969. This type of Easter egg is actually a little more common than you might think, because something similar happened with the Mona Lisa set. It has 1,503 pieces, but because of the number, you probably wouldn't bother to think of it as a year. However, 1503 is actually the year that Leonardo da Vinci started painting the Mona Lisa. It took him 16 years to do it, but it's a well-known fact that 1503 is when he started. Is LEGO still putting Easter eggs and references like these in their sets though? It's a good question, so let me show you the brand new LEGO Twilight Cullen House. To answer the question, yes, of course LEGO is still going super hard with the Easter eggs. In fact, just like the Friends set, the Cullen House also has a page on LEGO's website, breaking down a bunch of different references. The funniest ones by far, though, have to be the baseball references in the living room. If you've never seen the Twilight series, basically, the Cullens are a family of vampires, but there's a super famous scene in the movies where they actually play baseball and use their powers to their advantage. It's only famous because of how random it is for the movie. So to commemorate it, LEGO added a baseball hat on the coffee table and a tile with bats on it on the wall. The only way to make LEGO Easter eggs any better is if they're funny. And to be honest, it doesn't get much better than this. But now, let's look at the Stranger Things Upside Down set. In Season 2, Episode 4 of Stranger Things, Chief Hopper goes to investigate a pumpkin patch at a local farm. This ended up being a super important investigation, since it revealed so much about the Upside Down. You can't see it once the LEGO set is complete, but if you take a look at the instructions, you'll see that there's actually a pumpkin piece in the back of Hopper's car, referencing the pumpkin patch that he investigated. This is just one of the 21 Easter eggs in today's video, so make sure you watch all the way until the end. You won't believe that these LEGO Easter eggs are actually real. Up next is a super secret Easter egg in the Minecraft crafting box set, but the only way you can find it is if you take the whole thing apart. Before you do that though, look at what this part of the set actually looks like. Okay, got it in your head? Now look at what happens when you take a few parts off. The base of this set is actually a map of the set itself. It's super subtle, and you might not notice it even if you build it yourself. But if you built this next set, there's no way you'd miss this Easter egg. I'm talking about the LEGO Magic of Disney set. You can detach a lot of this set without taking apart any pieces, including some parts of Mickey Mouse. If you pop off the left arm, you'll find a brick-built pattern of Woody from Toy Story. Now, usually LEGO designers won't make their Easter eggs this obvious, but this one wasn't actually made by a LEGO designer. This set is part of the LEGO Ideas theme, which means a fan made this set, not one of LEGO's designers. The fans' favorite kids movie is Toy Story, so they wanted to pay homage to their favorite cowboy without fully including him in the set. Nice touch. Up next, the fourth Easter egg is hidden inside the LEGO Harry Potter Gringotts Bank set. Since this LEGO set is based on a movie series, there are loads of Easter eggs to choose from, but there's a certain one that's obviously the coolest. There are 3 vaults in this set, but I want to talk about the one at the bottom. This vault belongs to Bellatrix Lestrange, one of the main villains in the series. We see her vault in the Deathly Hallows Part 2, when Harry, Ron, and Hermione go looking for a Horcrux. While they were in there though, everything they touched started to duplicate, which made things very difficult for them. Now, you'd think there was no way to mimic this in a LEGO set, but you'd actually be wrong. If you open up Bellatrix's vault and push on the wall in the back, a bunch of golden goblets show up out of nowhere. They may not be duplicating, but this is a super cool way to reference that scene from the movie. If we're gonna talk about references though, then I have to show you this insane reference in the Legend of Zelda Deku Tree set. When you think of an Easter egg, you usually think about something hidden, but this one is actually in plain sight. After you build Link's house, you might notice a sign with a bunch of squiggles all over it. This isn't just any sign though. It's written in the language Hylian, and it reads, "It's a secret to everybody." This sentence is an Easter egg throughout the entire Zelda franchise, so it's awesome that LEGO continued the legacy in their set. While I'm talking about the Deku Tree set though, there's one more Easter egg that you just have to know about. In the Zelda games, there's a big plant-like character named Hetsu, who famously holds a pair of maracas. Well, you can actually build Hetsu in this set. And look, he even has his maracas too. Wanna know something crazy though? They actually make noise. Listen to this clip. This was super easy to pull off too. All you had to do was put a stud in each maraca. It's simple, but it works really well, and it's a great Easter egg for true Zelda fans. Up next is a super funny Easter egg in the LEGO City Undercover video game. When it comes to video games, most Easter eggs are either secret endings or hidden items, but this one is totally different. This LEGO game is based on the LEGO City theme. Nothing more, nothing less. But for some reason, there's a Mario mystery block you can actually interact with. This game came out all the way back in 2013, so fans thought LEGO was hinting at a LEGO Mario game. But 11 years later, we still don't have that game, so the devs really just did this for fun. This next Easter egg though is probably the funniest thing you've seen in LEGO. As you probably know, LEGO loves hiding pieces inside of brick heads. There's a plant inside Eve, a small brain for Homer, and way more. But what do you think they put inside the Woody from Toy Story brickhead? Well, they actually put a few pieces of stuffing, which is hilarious, but it's also true. In Toy Story 2, when Woody was getting fixed, we saw on his arm that he was actually made of stuffing. Since I showed you Woody though, I have to show you what LEGO did for the Buzz brickhead too. Buzz isn't a doll like Woody. He's an action figure, so the stuffing pieces won't work here. So instead, LEGO threw in some makeshift battery pieces. Just like how we saw what Woody was made of in Toy Story 2, we saw Buzz's batteries in Toy Story 3 when he got reset by Lotso. So both of these Easter eggs are accurate with the movies. When it comes to movies and TV shows though, LEGO never misses their mark with Easter eggs. In the LEGO Batman the Animated Series Gotham City set, there are too many references and Easter eggs to count. But there's one in here that definitely stands out from the rest. All the way in the bottom right of the set, there are two gray pieces sitting right next to each other. Looking at the shape, you might think they look like gravestones. And, well, that's because they are. These two gravestones represent Batman's parents, which is definitely a little morbid, but just wait, it goes deeper. If you take off the piece the gravestones are attached to, you'll find two brown ingots, and these are meant to be their coffins. I guess not every LEGO Easter egg has a happy ending. Up next is one of the funniest Easter eggs in all of LEGO, and it's in the LEGO Ninjago City Market set. This set is pretty big, having over 6,000 pieces, so it's a little difficult to find Easter eggs. But if you actually built this set yourself, there's no way you'd miss it. If you look at the top of the set, you'll see a bathroom, and believe it or not, this is where the Easter egg is. The toilet in this bathroom actually flushes and sends the poop through a drain system to the outside of the set. It's by far one of the funniest Easter eggs in LEGO, but it is pretty well known, so let me show you one that I guarantee you haven't seen before. This is the LEGO Paranormal Intercept bus set, part of the now retired theme Hidden Side. The bus is basically just a giant lab for the minifigs to work in. But what does every lab need? A computer. In the back of the bus, there's a micro PC setup with two monitors. Do you see it yet? The left monitor is showing a LEGO Bionicle game that's been canceled for years. The last time this video game was even playable was 2005, so people didn't even really know what it was. The Easter egg in this next set though is one that everyone recognized. This is the LEGO Bowser set, and since it's Mario, you already know there's gonna be some Easter eggs in here. First of all, Bowser can shoot a fireball out of his mouth, but that's not even what I'm here for. Once you build the set, you'll have this podium that Bowser is meant to stand on. Well, if you knock over the right pillar, it'll reveal a secret power box from the Mario video games. These power boxes are super helpful in game, and they're usually a little hard to find too. So it's cool that LEGO brought that theme over to this set. But if you thought that was it for LEGO Mario Easter eggs, forget about it, because I got one more for you. This is the LEGO question mark block set, and no, the Easter egg isn't just that you can reveal the 3 different worlds. In fact, it has nothing to do with the 3 worlds at all. It's completely hidden. If you go to the front of the block, there's a part of it you can actually pull up, revealing a secret Bowser lurking in the shadows. That isn't all though. If you take Bowser out and press down on what he was standing on, a secret battle arena will pop out at the bottom. This isn't just any battle arena though. This represents Bowser's Stadium from Super Mario 64, a classic level that a ton of Mario fans love. I know people aren't the biggest fans of these Mario sets, but you gotta give it to LEGO. These Easter eggs really are next level. But LEGO might have outdone themselves with this next Easter egg. If you watched my first video on Easter eggs, you might remember me talking about a laundromat laundering money in the Brick Bank set. Well, LEGO actually kept this Easter egg going in this police station set from 2021. On the right side of the police station building, there's a billboard from the laundromat that was doing the money laundering. This is one of the only times I've seen LEGO bring an Easter egg across multiple sets, especially one that they made themselves. So it was pretty cool to see. This next Easter egg though is probably one of the coolest ones in this whole video. Way back in 2006, LEGO released the LEGO Star Wars 2 The Original Trilogy video game. But there's a certain spot on Tatooine that you might have missed. In the Mos Eisley spaceport level, there's a giant sign promoting the LEGO Star Wars movie. Well, if you walk under the sign and swap to R2-D2, you can actually get inside this movie theater and see the LEGO Star Wars movie on the big screen. All you have to do is break the lights and chairs, rebuild them, and bam, the movie starts playing. Technically, it isn't a real movie, it's just cutscenes from the first LEGO Star Wars video game, but it's still sick either way. While I'm talking about LEGO Star Wars, let me show you an Easter egg in the 40th anniversary Death Star set. If you go around the side of the Death Star and pull down one of the panels, two studs will be sitting there, one black and one beige. Well, these studs actually represent Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader when they fought on the Death Star in the Return of the Jedi. LEGO loves doing stuff like this in micro builds, like they did it in the Little Hand set too. On the inside of the ship, there's a yellow and brown stud sitting right next to each other, and these two represent Obi-Wan and Anakin when they crash landed on Coruscant in the beginning of the Revenge of the Sith. There are a lot more Easter eggs just like these two in LEGO Star Wars sets, but let's just move on to the next Easter egg. The 19th Easter egg is hidden in the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set, and would you believe me if I told you it was actually evil? I know it may not look like it, but there's an evil here lurking in the depths, literally. If you take off the circular piece with all the chairs on it, you'll find a giant eye of Sauron sitting right there. Sauron is the Dark Lord in the Lord of the Rings series, and this eye is his symbol, so this is definitely a bad omen for Frodo and the gang. Let's move away from that though, and take a look at the Amazing Spider-Man art set. There isn't a lot of room for Easter eggs here, but I promise, there's one here for sure. This set came out in August of 2023, which is important to know because it came out after Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. There were a bunch of new characters in that movie, but one of the most popular ones was Spider-Man 2099. Now, take a look at the box for the Spider-Man art set. Notice anything? Well, this set comes with exactly 2,099 pieces. Listen, you might think I'm reaching here, but just remember, no LEGO reference is done by accident. The designers always know what they're doing. And for the last Easter egg in this video, I have the perfect example of that. This is the Tales of the Space Age set, made in April of 2023, and it's actually a really tasteful set. With the 688 pieces, you can build 4 different 3D postcards, all of which look like a completely different part of the universe. As you can see, all of them have different color palettes, because the artist wanted to show what sunsets might look like on different planets. Speaking of the artist, this is where the Easter egg comes in. The man who designed this set has a name I can't pronounce, but all that matters is that he's Polish. Now, if we take a look at the back of these postcards, you might notice something at the bottom of them. On the blue and green postcards, there's a white piece and a red piece stacked on top of each other. Well, these very out-of-place colors were placed there by the Polish designer, and these pieces are the Polish flag. LEGO designers love slipping in Easter eggs about themselves when they build sets, and what better way to do it than with this super subtle flag on the back. Starting with something in the carpenter's workshop inside the Shopping Street set. There are a few ongoing projects in this workshop, but this one in particular looks a bit familiar because it's a brick-built version of the wooden duck from 1935. You see, LEGO was actually a wooden toy company before they made plastic bricks, and this duck is one of their most popular toys from back then. It's been referenced in sets before, but this one is by far the most subtle. And the workshop isn't the only place with hidden details. Out back, there's a dumpster with a classic one-piece LEGO chair sticking out of it, which is very fitting for a furniture store, but that classic chair piece used to show up in basically every modular building set. It was a staple. However, LEGO's been moving away from it and using more detailed brick-built furniture, and they basically shoehorned the announcement into this set. There's a big sale sign right outside of the store, so these old one-piece chairs are probably on clearance. And LEGO even put one in the dumpster out back to tie everything together. The designers were very particular with the references in this set, and the top floor apartment is an even better example of this. The light aqua radio is a direct callback to set 10334, the retro radio, which was designed by the same person who made this set. And inside the carpenter's cabinet, there's a watch that she bought from the clockmaker in the 2-door corner set from 2025. We all know the storylines and cross-references in modular buildings are everywhere, so it's cool to see that they're keeping the same energy in 2026. However, this really nice building might actually have a rat problem. There's one right next to the dumpster with a hole in the wall, and Lego actually shows us where it lives in the building. There's a small pad and a piece of cheese in a bay window upstairs, and it's definitely this rat, but it's actually a callback to something else too. It's referencing the rat that hid under the stairs in the Green Grocer from 2008, which is one of the most legendary modular buildings ever released. Shopping Street already pays tribute to it with all the sand green pieces, so a smaller, more niche reference is really cool too. But if you thought that was niche, the set itself is actually referencing something that only the designer would know about. This set was made by Hoang Huy Dong, who was born in Vietnam. He lived in a very small alleyway, so the architecture had to be very precise, or else people wouldn't be able to move anywhere. Dong wanted to give this set the exact same feeling, so he started it with the alleyway in the middle and built everything else around it. Even Jamie Berard, who's made some of the best sets in modular buildings, said he didn't really know how they were gonna pull this off. But they did, and now we have something that's never been seen in modular buildings. But let's move on to the Old Town set from Ninjago. This set came out for the 15th anniversary of the theme, so the designers absolutely packed it with references, including one that they said themselves should have happened years ago. The Green Ninja Scroll, which is literally what the entire Ninjago story is based on, finally showed up in a Lego set for the first time ever. It's hidden inside a secret compartment above the Old Town gate. Designer Lee Chi-wing said in the official interview, "When I found out we'd never done this before, I was shocked." So he finally made it happen. But the set also has a detail from one of the show's saddest storylines. Moro's kite is caught in the branches of one of the trees. This is the kite that Master Wu gave to young Moro as a child, right before his entire life fell apart because he was never chosen as the Green Ninja. It's one of the most tragic backstories in the whole show. But then the designer hinted that there's a second Moro secret hiding somewhere that he flat out refuses to explain. I'm pretty sure it's his skull hiding in the foundation of the tower, which is a big spoiler for people that haven't seen it. But a banner at the museum has an even bigger spoiler if you pay attention to the details. The curator of the museum is Dr. Saunders, who we all know turned out to be the villain Crux, and was one of the biggest reveals in season 7. Crux and his brother have a logo on their torso, which makes it super easy to identify them. And if you look at this banner, you'll see both hands from the clock on their torso on opposite sides of it. So if you hadn't seen season 7 and really paid attention to this set, you might have actually been able to figure this out and spoil yourself. But the carpenter's shop in Old Town has two details that go all the way back to the beginning of the show. There's a blueprint inside recreating the scene where Master Wu makes the ninja pull his horseless carriage for training, which is one of the most memorable things from early Ninjago. But there's something even sneakier in Crux's office. There's a really small book in there that's actually the book read to Lloyd when he was a kid. The designer even called it a relic no one probably expected, and they were definitely right about that. But Lego also dropped the X1 Ninja Charger for the 15th anniversary, and there are two really cool details in it. This actually isn't the first time Lego's made this set. They made one back in 2014 too, and the coolest thing about that one was that if you popped the hood of the car, a motorcycle would come shooting out. So Lego carried it over into the one from 2026. Not only does the set look way better now, but it probably works a lot better too. But what about that second detail? Well, since this is an anniversary set, it comes with the 7th and final exclusive minifigure of the year, Dusk, the Elemental Master of Shadow. She was the master of this element during the Serpentine War, and you can only get her in this set. But now, let's talk about Lord of the Rings, because the Minas Tirith set has a lot to hide. The craziest thing, though, is that the One Ring is just sitting in the base of the set. The entire series is literally about finding this ring, and yet here it is. The funniest part is that it was never in the Minas Tirith in the movies or the books, but there are actually removable walls in this set, and you bet they're hiding some secrets. Behind one of them is a Palantir, the seeing stone that sorcerers and villains use all the time. It'd be pretty difficult to recreate in Lego since it's a shiny sphere and can change colors, but they actually did a pretty good job. They printed the Eye of Sauron onto a minifigure head and put it inside a clear dome. We did get a way cooler one in the Tower of Orthanc set, but this one still has another trick up its sleeve. Behind the throne room, there's a brick-built representation of the White Tree of Gondor carved into the wall. This detail gets completely ignored because, well, for one, the real thing is sitting outside. But for two, the rest of the set is so grand that a lot of viewers just didn't mention it. But let's move on to Harry Potter, because Lego's been doing something really interesting with this theme. To keep people interested, they've been hiding collectible portraits in different sets. You can't get all of them in one, so obviously it makes them more money. But what else are they gonna do? Harry Potter got its last movie 15 years ago. But a set that doesn't need any hype is Snoopy's Doghouse. This scene is a classic no matter how old the Peanuts is. And funnily enough, the designer hid a fact about himself in plain sight. Snoopy is always using his typewriter, so the designer made him one in this set and put the most famous corny opener as the only sentence on it. But there's also a date in the top left, and that's the birthday of Robert Becker, the guy who submitted the set to Lego Ideas. This set has way more than a personal reference though. The doghouse actually folds open and reveals a starry night sky as a backdrop. This goes back to Becker's original submission, where a campfire under the stars was the central idea of the entire project. So when Lego made the set, they made sure to include it in the final design, because it was the whole reason the set got so much support in the first place. This is the first Lego Peanuts set ever made, and there's another first ever in the Speed Champions theme this year. They just released Brian's Mark IV Supra from Fast and Furious, which people have already been waiting a really long time for, but they wanted to make it extra special. So instead of the flat silver color the wheels usually get, Lego made them a shiny chrome, just like they are in the movie. But I can't talk about new Lego without mentioning Pokemon. Lego has a huge wave lined up for August 1st, and people have already spotted some really sick details. But one of the coolest ones is in the Umbreon vs. Garchomp set. Now, Umbreon isn't really known as one single trainer's personal signature, but Garchomp is. His trainer is famously Cynthia, and she's actually referenced in this set. She always has these weird black and gold things in her hair, and since Cynthia herself isn't here, Lego added them to the trophy instead. This is a pretty deep cut, and so is the detail in the new Minecraft Fox set. Lego always hides cool Easter eggs on the inside of Minecraft animals, like the brain on the turtle and the water in the camel. But the one in the fox might be the best one yet. There's a box inside its body with a red cherry piece and an egg, and this is referencing how you tame foxes in-game. To tame them, you have to feed them sweet berries, and when you do, a baby fox is born. So the red cherries represent the sweet berries, and the egg represents the baby fox before it's born. This is definitely an if you know reference, and the Triceratops set from Jurassic World has a few of them too. Instead of red cherries, this set has blue cherries on the stand next to the minifigure, and it's referencing West Indian lilac berries. Specifically, the scene where the main characters find a sick Triceratops lying on the ground, and when they find these berries next to it, they say they're toxic. Even though the dinosaurs don't eat them, it's pretty funny that Lego put them here with the skeleton, since they could probably kill them. But this set also has two references to the dinosaur's DNA. One of them is something that's super well known and referenced in a ton of Jurassic Park and World sets. The fact that the dinosaurs have frog DNA. In this set, you can find a frog inside its mouth, like the one in the T-Rex skeleton set, where it was in its body. It's super predictable, and unfortunately, so is the second one. Down by the tree stump, there's a Lego mosquito trapped in amber. which is the only reason why the scientists were able to bring dinosaurs back to begin with. But if you're looking for hyper-specific references, look no further than the SHIELD helicarrier in LEGO Marvel. LEGO was showing us references before this set even came out, and everyone was really excited for the Winter Soldier comic book tile. This is issue 11 of Captain America from 2008, and it shows the big reveal as Bucky as the Winter Soldier. They even gave his minifigure in this set a faceplate that matches the cover. The tile's hidden right under the runway, but if you go to one of the propellers, there's a micro-scale Iron Man minifigure there, and he's not here for no reason. This specific propeller is on fire, and it's actually referencing the scene where the ship gets damaged. So Iron Man goes down to figure out how to fix it and uses his own armor to get it started, so the carrier doesn't crash. It's a super famous scene, so of course LEGO included it. But the other famous scene they needed to add was Loki being in his clear cell, specifically where he's able to activate it and eject it from the bottom of the ship. LEGO made a micro-scale version of it just like they did for Iron Man, and if you push down on top of it, you can eject it from the ship just like it did in the movie. But to end the video, I have to tell you about a really weird change in the One Piece sets that are coming out in August. One Piece is pretty well known for wanted posters, and the first wave had collectible ones you could get in different sets. But LEGO's actually changing that now. Now they're going to be secret dossiers, and we don't really know exactly what this means. They've shown us pictures of a poster for someone in Baroque works, which is something they've only done in the live action. But all we know so far is that the wanted posters are gone. If you've ever ordered something from LEGO online, you probably noticed that the box it comes in is very plain, and LEGO actually tells you why, but only if you look at the right part of the box. It says that they're plain because a lot of people buy gifts from LEGO, so they keep them plain to help keep the secret. I guess enough people got their Christmas spoiled that LEGO had to do something about it. But what about actual sets? The first one I'll talk about is the Slytherin House banner set from 2022. This one has a hidden compartment inside the banner, which by itself is already a cool detail. But if you actually look inside the compartment, there's a message written in there that says Tom Riddle was here. The coolest part though is that you can't see it from every angle. It's written on 3D paper, so if you don't look at it correctly, you won't see it at all. Since there aren't that many people who know Tom Riddle was Voldemort and that he was in Slytherin, it makes sense why LEGO hid it this way. But Harry Potter isn't the only theme where LEGO hid something like this. In the Wednesday and Enid's dorm room set from 2023, there's a small printed tile on a book spine that just says hide. At first, it looks like a random book title, but Hyde is actually the name for the creature alter ego of the show's main villain, Laurel Gates. So LEGO put a spoiler for the big villain of the show on the spine of a book. But since most people buying this set have seen the show, it probably didn't spoil that many people. Now, those are both pretty dark messages, but the one hiding in the corner garage modular set is a lot funnier. One of the shop windows says Dr. Jones Animal Care, no snakes. And this is actually a reference to Indiana Jones. Indy has a PhD in archaeology, so he is technically a doctor. But the important thing here is that he hates snakes, so of course he'd never let them in his vet clinic. But this next message is one of the weirdest ones ever. In the Ninjago City Garden set from 2021, there's a sticker that says A05 renovation, which sounds kind of weird, but we all probably looked right past it. But A05 is actually LEGO's internal retirement code. It's the code they give to pieces when they're about to be discontinued and pulled from future sets. I don't even know how people were able to figure this one out, but the weirder thing here is why the designers even did it. But designers also hide their own signatures in sets. In the Office set from 2022, there's a certificate of authenticity above the reception desk with 3 separate sets of initials, but only one of them is for the designer. The first one stands for Jai Jai Lewis, who made the set and passed LEGO's review on LEGO Ideas. Apparently, the other 2 sets are for the social media pages that helped him get 10,000 supporters, but I have no idea what they actually are. However, the most impressive designer signature is in the world map set from 2021. Designer Fiorella Groves built the Chinese character Li, which is her middle name, into the Pacific Ocean. She only had 2 dimensions, 1x1 studs, and colors, and somehow she pulled off one of the best signatures in LEGO. She teased it in a designer video, but never said what it was or where it was, but fans solved it in like 24 hours. So even though it was really cool, it was still pretty easy to find. Now, this next one isn't a direct message, but it's definitely intentional. The buildable C-3PO set from 2024 has exactly 1,138 pieces, and that number isn't random. It's a reference to THX-1138, George Lucas's first feature film, which became a recurring Easter egg hidden throughout Star Wars. If you thought this number was hard to recognize, wait until you see what's inside the X-Men X-Mansion set. The Danger Room is covered in stickers that look like weapon and equipment codes, but someone recognized that every single one is actually a reference. E13122 is Earth 13122, which is the LEGO Marvel Universe. E92131 is Earth 92131, the universe for the X-Men animated series. UX266 is Uncanny X-Men number 266, which is the issue where Gambit first showed up. And 141965 refers to X-Men number 141, which is the Days of Future Past storyline. It's definitely not the easiest thing to figure out, but you have to know a whole other language to recognize the message in the Evolution of STEM set. Along the edge of the book, there are white tiles built as dots and dashes in Morse code, and they spell out STEM. It's physically built into the model, and even though the message isn't anything crazy, when else have you seen Morse code in LEGO? But it's not just sets. LEGO hides messages in video games too. In the LEGO Party video game, there's one hidden inside the Slide Hustle minigame. Players who found and decoded it got a weird sequence of characters, and entering that sequence unlocked the Galaxy Patrol minifigure in the game. This guy was clearly not easy to unlock. But speaking of things that are hard to find, Bionicle ran one of the longest secret message systems in LEGO history. From 2003 to 2010, every Bionicle canister and set packaging had a Kanoka code printed on it. You entered them on Bionicle.com, and they unlocked story content, games, and exclusive information about the Bionicle universe that you couldn't get anywhere else. To this day, people still talk about how crazy this was, but Bionicle references kept showing up way after the theme ended. In the Ninjago City Docks set from 2018, there are 2 maps inside the build. One shows the island of Ninjago, which makes total sense, obviously. But the other one shows Mata Nui, the island from Bionicle, and it's actually labeled in the Mandarin alphabet, which is Bionicle's own language. There's also a Bionicle reference hiding in the City Passenger Airplane set from 2020. One of the stickers shows a list of departures, and one of the destinations is VYN, which stands for Voya Nui, an island from Bionicle. But how do I know this? Because there's a second sticker showing a plane landing on that island. So these two are very obviously linked. But more recently, LEGO's own Instagram account hid a Bionicle message on their page. In a post about the retro phone set, the third slide showed the inside of the phone with red and green lights in the background. Literally no one thought anything of this except for one commenter who started digging into it to see what they could find. They noticed that the lights kind of looked like binary code, and after filling in the gaps covered by the speech bubble, they realized that they were right, and the message was the word Bionicle. Now, this probably means absolutely nothing for the theme, but it's cool to see that LEGO's still keeping the name alive. However, this isn't the only time LEGO hid a message with binary code. The official Ninjago promo poster for the 2014 rebooted season had what looked like binary code along the border. Fans decoded it and it spelled Nindroid, which was the name of the android villain faction in that season. But the binary rabbit hole still goes deeper. The robot programmer minifigure from CMF Series 19 has binary code printed on the shirt, but the way you decode it matters. You have to translate it as an 8-bit binary into ASC2 to find the real message. And when you do, it spells LEGO. Usually when you're decoding binary, you only have to do it once. sense, but thanks to this person on Reddit, we found out it actually had 2 layers. But the most personal hidden messages in this video are in the LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga video game. When a character gets introduced, their name shows up on screen in English, with Aurebesh text underneath. But these aren't just translations of their names. Every single one is a joke. Darth Vader says loves the dark side, hates sand. Kylo Ren says serious daddy issues. Count Dooku says never loses his head. Palpatine says also known as the Senate. Jango Fett says donor for the clone army, which is crazy. And Darth Maul says red dude with a bad attitude. Out of all the Easter eggs in the Skywalker Saga, these are by far the funniest. But this next secret message had some Minecraft fans pretty confused. The end battle set came with a brick that had a really long code on it, and some people on Reddit genuinely didn't know what they were looking at. What they didn't know was that this was a redeemable code for Minecraft Bedrock, which gave you the minifigure in the set as a skin in-game. Now, these messages are sick, but did you know that LEGO even hides them using ancient languages? They mainly use hieroglyphs and runes, so I'll start with runes. The Heroica fantasy board games come with a shield piece covered in runic writing. And unlike a lot of fantasy-looking LEGO scripts that are just decoration, this one actually says something. If you decode it, it spells Heroica 3 times. Not very special. But there's a Harry Potter rune tile that hides something a lot more specific. The main inscription says LEGO, and the smaller writing says Leg Got, which translates to play well. For anyone who doesn't know, Leg Got is the Danish phrase that LEGO's name originally came from, and for some reason they decided to hide it in runes in a Harry Potter set. It makes absolutely no sense, but in the Mines of Moria set from the Lord of the Rings, the inscription on Balin's tomb isn't random. It uses Tolkien Dwarvish runes and matches the real tomb inscription from the Fellowship of the Ring. So if you know Tolkien's rune system, you can read it. It's one of the more accurate pieces of ancient writing LEGO has ever put in a set, but this same one has 2 more runic messages, one of which is above one of the doors, and this one is very different. If you read it using the Dwarf Runes keyboard layout instead of Tolkien's actual rune values, it says Diordi was here. Basically, someone on the design team left their own name hidden in the Mines of Moria in Dwarf Runes, and made it pretty difficult to decode. But the third message is a smaller inscription that says Orcs, with a tally mark next to it. Moria doesn't just have serious lore, it also has what looks like a kill counter for orcs. That's pretty much it for runes, so now it's time for hieroglyphs. The LEGO Adventurers Egypt set used real-looking hieroglyphs in a lot of their sets. Most of them don't seem to say anything in particular, but there's one set that might say KHNWM, which could be an attempt at spelling Khnum, an Egyptian god. The article that found this says it's either a coincidence or a typo, so there's no real way to be sure. But Pharaoh's Quest had one of LEGO's most creative hidden messages. The hieroglyphs were redesigned, so every symbol was an object from LEGO. LEGO even released a decoder for the system, and the whole thing was built around a fan puzzle that unlocked Professor Archibald Hale's diary on a special website. This entire thing has so much lore and is so complicated that it's honestly hard to follow. But in 2015, the Scooby-Doo Mummy Museum mystery set showed up with the same exact LEGO-ified hieroglyphs from Pharaoh's Quest. LEGO just took the entire fake ancient writing system from one theme and reused it in a completely different one 4 years later. You'd think this would be it, but it happened again in the 2020 Haunted House set, which already had a bunch of Adventurers references in it. One of the obelisks in the set uses one of the same hieroglyphic inscriptions. This one at least makes sense, since this language was in Adventurers first, but the newer Indiana Jones sets take a different approach, hiding actual movie references in the hieroglyphs. In the Escape from the Lost Tomb set, the hieroglyphs have the famous C-3PO and R2-D2 carvings from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the Sankara stones from the Temple of Doom with a crystal skull. Now, obviously, these aren't based on real hieroglyphs, so it's just kind of a fun reference. But the Pyramid of Giza set was not messing around. The set includes a name plaque in hieroglyphs that says Akhet Khufu, which means the horizon of Khufu. Khufu. And this isn't just a guess. The person who wrote this article knows a lot about ancient languages, and according to them, this is exactly how this name would be written in ancient Egypt. So shout out LEGO for being super accurate. They actually like hieroglyphs more than you think, because they made a line of buildable pens called the LEGO writing system, and one of them was hieroglyph themed. It came with an alphabet decoder sheet, so kids could write in the system. Real Egyptian hieroglyphs don't actually work as a simple alphabet, but LEGO turned them into one anyway, and packaged it as a puzzle. It's not 100% accurate like the one in the Giza set, but it's still really sick. Back in 2011, Series 5 of CMF came out, and one of them was the Lumberjack. Just a completely normal guy with a name tag that says Kel. Remember that part. 4 years later, in 2015, Series 14 came out, and the theme for that series was monsters. One of the figures in that wave is called the Wolf Guy, who's supposed to be a werewolf. But if you look at what he's wearing, he's got the exact same plaid shirt as the Lumberjack from Series 5. And if you look even closer, he still has the same name tag too. LEGO literally took a happy woodsman who was just trying to make a living cutting down trees and turned him into a werewolf 4 years later. And speaking of people becoming monsters over time, let me show you another transformation that took way longer to be revealed. Way back in 1997, there was a castle sub-theme called Fright Nights. The main villain of Fright Nights was a character named Basil the Batlord. The Fright Nights theme ended in 1998, and Basil just kind of disappeared from LEGO after that. But then in 2024, over 25 years later, Series 25 of CMF came out, and one of the figures in that series is called the Vampire Knight. At first glance, this just seems like a random vampire character wearing knight armor. But if you look closely at the details, his shield still has the Fright Knight's bat emblem on it, the exact same logo from the original 1997 sets. And if you read his backstory, it lines up perfectly with Basil the Batlord's original character from the 90s. So this Vampire Knight is Basil the Batlord himself. But now, let me tell you about the single rarest minifigure in the entire history of CMF. In 2018, Series 18 came out to commemorate 40 years of the minifigure, and LEGO decided to hide an ultra-rare chase figure in the series at 1 per box odds. There was one of these guys per box, which had 60 blind bags, so it was super rare. The minifigure in question was none other than the classic policeman, who was a near-perfect recreation of his version from 1978. And as if that wasn't enough of a tribute, his accessory tile actually shows the original box art for the set he came in back in the day. However, the classic policeman wasn't the only deep reference in Series 18. There's also the dragon suit guy, and most people think he's just someone wearing a generic dragon costume. But it's way more specific than that. This figure is a direct recreation of the LEGO Castle Dragon from the Dragon Mountain set from 2013. Every detail was specifically designed to match the dragon from that specific set. This one's nowhere near as popular as Brickley, so I don't really know why they chose him, but while we're talking about Series 18, there's another detail about it that explains why certain figures even exist. Series 18 had the brick suit guy and brick suit girl, and when they came out, most people thought they were just kind of random. But here's what they didn't realize. 2018 wasn't just the 40th anniversary of the minifigure. It was also the 60th anniversary of the LEGO brick itself. The modern LEGO brick with tubes and studs was patented in 1958, exactly 60 years before Series 18 came out. So this series was actually celebrating 2 major anniversaries at the same time. The 40th anniversary of the minifigure with the classic policeman, and the 60th anniversary of the brick with the brick suit figures. But now, let me show you something in Series 16 that you definitely didn't notice. This series came out in 2016, and one of the minifigs was the Rogue, who was a pretty standard castle-themed character. But if you look at the thing that's holding his cloak together, there's a tiny Wolfpack emblem printed on it. Most people would never notice this detail. The Wolfpack was a castle faction from 1992, so this reference went back over 20 years by the time Series 16 came out. And speaking of castle castle factions, Series 24 came out in 2023, and one of the minifigs is the Falconer. She's wearing black falcon colors and carrying a genuine Black Falcon faction bird, which is actually really important. The Black Falcons became one of the most iconic castle factions after they were introduced in 1984, and in all that time, LEGO had never actually given them a real Falcon figure until this minifigure came out in 2023. That's not all though. The Falconer's design was specifically made to fit perfectly into 3 major castle sets from the modern era. She fits into the medieval blacksmith set, the medieval castle set, and the Lion Knights castle set. LEGO designed her to be compatible with modern castle sets so collectors could add her into those builds. But the Falconer and the Rogue weren't the only castle faction references in Series 24. The Orc figure carries a shield, and if you look at what's printed on it, you'll see an updated version of the Troll faction logo that ran from 2007 to 2008. LEGO didn't just copy and paste the old emblem from those sets. They actually redesigned it and modernized it specifically for this minifigure. But the castle references keep going in Series 27. This one came out in 2025, and one of the minifigs is the Wolfpack Beastmaster. This guy has an actual wolf companion that comes with him. Now, that might not seem like a big deal until you realize that this is the very first Wolfpack minifigure in the entire history of LEGO Castle to actually come with a wolf. The Wolfpack faction has been around since 1992, and not a single one of their sets ever included an actual wolf until this minifigure. It's the exact same thing that happened with the Black Falcon faction. But one of the coolest castle references is the classic King minifigure in Series 13. If you read his biography, it sounds like it's just telling a story about a fictional king, but it's not fiction at all. His bio specifically says he recruited 14 brave and loyal knights to build a fine golden castle. This is the exact inventory of the actual 1978 Yellow Castle set. It came with exactly 14 knight minifigures, and obviously it's golden. But it gets even better because his bio also makes a joke about how they had to build wooden horses for the knights, since horse pieces didn't exist back in 1978. The amount we learned about Castle just from this one minifigure is genuinely insane, but there's still more to learn. Series 19 came out in 2019, and one of the minifigs is the Fright Knight, who obviously references the Fright Knights faction. But LEGO didn't just recreate the original designs. They reimagined this character as a ghost knight with transparent blue skin and a transparent blue sword. The original Fright Knights theme never had anything like this, so why did LEGO even do it? Well, we've already seen that they wanted to redesign certain things from Castle. So for this minifigure, they used modern day technology to make him way cooler. Back in the 90s, LEGO didn't make anything like this. But now, let me show you a famous LEGO character hiding in plain sight in this same series. The character I want to focus on is the Jungle Explorer. Pretty generic name for a guy in explorer gear, but this minifigure is actually Johnny Thunder from the Adventurers theme, and it was directly confirmed by the designer Austin Carlson in an interview. LEGO couldn't use the name Johnny Thunder on the packaging for licensing or trademark reasons, so they just called him Jungle Explorer and matched the details to Johnny's old design. He's an absolute hit in the AFOL community, but what a lot of people don't know is that LEGO actually did this with a way less popular character. Series 18 had the race car guy, and if you look at the printing on him, there are clues to who he really is. He has R Racer printed on his belt buckle, and his torso has an RR logo on it. But what does all this mean? Well, it confirms that he's Rocket Racer from the LEGO Racers game, which came out in 1999. Rocket Racer was the final boss of that game, and he'd never even been made in real life before. LEGO Racers is pretty popular now, but nowhere near as popular as Johnny Thunder. So it makes sense why most people don't know this one. Clearly, LEGO loves to reference themselves, but did you know they do it in the accessories too? You can find one in Series 24, which came out in 2023. One of the figures is the Newspaper Kid, and if you look at what's printed on the front page, it shows the classic policeman from Series 18. So a CMF figure is holding a newspaper with another CMF figure printed on it. Very typical of LEGO. Another thing that's really common is for LEGO designers to hide signatures in sets they make. But did you know they do it in CMF too? Series 11 came out in 2013, and one of the figures is the diner waitress. She's wearing a classic 1950s diner uniform with a name tag, and if you look at that name tag, it says Tara, which is a direct reference to LEGO designer Tara Wilkes, who worked on CMF. It's pretty funny that this is basically just a regular signature. But speaking of interesting designer decisions, Series 26 came out in 2024 with a space theme, and one of the figures is Orion. Now, most minifigures get designed by starting with a character concept and then figuring out how to build it later, but Orion was made completely backwards. The designers wanted to use as many transparent pieces as possible on one singular minifigure as a technical challenge. And only after this did they figure out what character would actually justify having all of these transparent parts. Someone suggested making a constellation, and specifically Orion made sense because his constellation form is human-shaped, so they ran with it. To complete the reference, his shield is printed with the actual Orion constellation map you can see in the sky. But not every CMF reference is this obvious, because sometimes LEGO references other franchises in super sneaky ways. Series 18 came out in 2018, and one of the figures is the Cactus Girl. And if you've ever played any of the Final Fantasy games, you'll immediately recognize what this is. The design is an unmistakable reference to the Cactuar, which is a recurring character throughout the entire Final Fantasy series. And Series 24 had another pop culture reference that works in two different ways. One of the minifigures in this one is called the T-Rex Costume Fan. And even though I don't know why LEGO gave it this name, I know exactly what it's referencing. The first thing is the giant T-Rex in the Jurassic World theme. They pretty much have the exact same design, but the second thing is way better. This minifigure is also a reference to the inflatable T-Rex costume that's always going viral online. I swear I've seen videos of this thing for like the last 10 years, and I genuinely can't believe that LEGO made a minifigure that basically looks just like it. But one of the minifigs in Series 26 had a technical problem that LEGO had to work around with printing, and that minifigure was the Ice Planet Explorer. This minifig references the Ice Planet 2002 sub-theme, which ran from 1993 to 1994. But there's a problem with it. That sub-theme's most defining feature was trans neon orange plastic. That specific color was everywhere in these sets, but LEGO retired it forever ago and doesn't make it anymore. So how did they make an Ice Planet reference without the signature color? They printed orange directly onto a white helmet visor and printed it onto the robot penguin's eye slit. They completely faked it, and honestly, it worked pretty well. But the Blacktron mutant from Series 26 has a detail that most casual fans completely miss. When people see Blacktron, they assume it's referencing the original faction from 1987, which is the most famous one that everyone remembers. But this figure doesn't reference that version at all. It specifically references Blacktron 2, which is the sequel that ran from 1991 to 1993. You can tell because of the white torso and the lime green B logo. Those are the colors Blacktron 2 used. Super nerdy, I know, but it had to be said. Anyways, to end the video, I'm going to tell you about a hilarious minifigure that's rumored to be coming out this year. There are reports that a Bionicle cosplayer minifigure based on Tahu is coming out, who was one of the main characters in Bionicle. This would be such a meta and funny choice. The entire point of Bionicle was that it used buildable action figures, not minifigures. But this is nowhere near the best part. Obviously, Bionicle hasn't been around for a while now, and people are always asking LEGO to bring it back. Usually, companies don't even acknowledge stuff like this, but LEGO made a post on Instagram saying, "This is who you're asking to bring back Bionicle," and used a picture of a baby minifigure with it. Clearly, they're never bringing it back, so making that Tahu minifig is one of the craziest moves they'd ever pull, if they actually do it. Starting with something none of you probably know. The iconic minifigure smile isn't actually the original design. The earliest minifigures from 1978 had a smile that was technically geometrically imperfect compared to what we have today. Jens Nygaard Knudsen was rushing to get minifigures out as fast as possible because LEGO wanted to be the first toy company with a space-themed product. And in all the commotion, the smile got messed up and had to be fixed with tiny updates over time. So the version we all know and love now wasn't even really planned. LEGO just came up with it on a whim. But let me talk more about what I said in the intro. Before 1958, LEGO bricks existed, but they were genuinely terrible at staying together. They were called automatic binding bricks, and the binding part barely worked. So customers in Germany started sending complaints to LEGO, saying these bricks don't stick together. What's the point? And in January 1958, Godfred Christensen sat down and made a new design specifically to fix this problem. He added tubes inside the bricks that connected to the studs on top, and that's what created the clutch power that actually holds bricks together so well. The entire stud and tube system that defines LEGO was just a fix for angry customers. But when LEGO picked yellow for the minifigure's skin color, they could have never imagined just how famous it would be. LEGO made minifigures yellow because they didn't want them to represent any specific race, so they picked a color that represented nobody. But that neutral choice became one of the most defining, beloved, and debated things in toy history. The yellow minifigure is now iconic, precisely because it used that yellow color. Now, obviously, these were some pretty big decisions in LEGO's career, but the story behind the headlight brick is the complete opposite. Back in 1979, designer Erling Diderichsen made part 4070, otherwise known as the headlight brick. And the only reason he made it was to put headlights on LEGO cars. But what he didn't realize is that this piece was about to unlock a whole new building technique. That piece became the foundation of SNOT, studs not on top, probably the most important technique in advanced LEGO building. This one piece was in over 2,380 sets, and when Erling sadly passed away in 2023, the community named it the Erling brick in his honor. But the craziest part about SNOT is that LEGO didn't come up with it at all. AFOLs were the one who discovered it. They realized that because of the 5:2 ratio in LEGO brick geometry, you could connect bricks sideways and make them align perfectly. 2 studs wide equals exactly 5 plates tall. So if you turn a brick on its side, the math works out and everything locks together. The community figured this out and ran with it, and now SNOT is a core technique in every single professional LEGO build. But this isn't the only time something like this has happened. Another piece that got completely repurposed by fans is part 54200, better known as the cheese slope. LEGO designed it as a simple piece meant for roofs and small decorations, but AFOLs turned it into one of the most used pieces in creative building. People use it as texture, as flooring, as teeth on creatures. It's pretty much been used for anything you can think of. And fans called it cheese because the yellow and orange versions look exactly like a wedge of cheddar. To acknowledge its newfound fame, LEGO actually printed this piece with cheese patterns on it, which brought the whole thing full circle. But now, let me show you how a manufacturing defect became one of the most beloved character details in LEGO history. The blue classic space minifigure helmets from the 1980s had a known flaw. The chin strap area was too thin and cracked really easily all the time. LEGO never fixed this back in the day, so basically every kid who grew up in the 80s had faulty astronaut helmets. But when the LEGO movie came out in 2014, they made Benny the spaceman, and they gave him a deliberately cracked helmet as a tribute to this flaw. This was probably one of their biggest mistakes ever, but it gave us Benny, so I'm definitely not complaining. But this next accident pretty much proves that Jens Knudsen, the guy who made the headlight brick, is the king of happy accidents. He was the head designer of the space theme back in the day, and when he was trying to pick the main color for the theme, he didn't want to go with anything too boring. He wanted the sets to really pop on the shelves, so he went with blue because LEGO had a lot of pieces in this color, and making ones with new colors wasn't very easy. This was a very simple decision that he barely even had to think about, but because he picked the right one, space ended up becoming one of the biggest themes LEGO's ever made. But classic space also has a hidden story about how designers got around LEGO's rules. LEGO had a strict no weapons policy back then, which meant designers weren't allowed to put guns on spaceships at all. So Jens Knudsen and his colleague Niels Peterson just put radar dishes and sensor probes on ships that were very obviously guns. And they even admitted it decades later in interviews. It's like when they put adult jokes in kids' movies. To the kids, these pieces look like radar dishes and probes, but the adults definitely knew what was going on. These things were weapons. Alright, now let me show you how LEGO accidentally became the world's largest tire manufacturer without even trying. In April of 1962, LEGO started making miniature rubber tires for their sets based on vehicles. Nobody thought much of it, but by 2011, they had made 381 million tires in that year alone. That made them, by volume, the largest tire manufacturer on the entire planet. Bigger than Michelin, bigger than Bridgestone, bigger than every actual tire company. However, there's one LEGO accident in particular that's actually really tragic. But without it, LEGO may have never turned into what they are today. As a lot of you know, LEGO used to make wooden toys at the start of their journey, and as they were starting to make plastic toys, they were still making wooden ones. They didn't have any reason to stop making them, but on February 4th, 1960, the warehouse with all of their wooden toy inventory burned down. Most of the LEGO family wanted to rebuild it, but Godfrey actually wanted the opposite. Instead, he wanted to bet on the future and only make plastic bricks from there on out. His brothers were absolutely furious with him, but Godfrey did it anyway, and obviously this was definitely the right choice. The warehouse burning down was super tragic, but if it didn't happen, LEGO may have never evolved out of making wooden toys. But unfortunately, this isn't even the only tragic accident in LEGO's history. This next one is the story of a guy named Travis Kuntz and how AFOLs named a specific piece after him. Part 4733 is a 1x1 brick with a stud on every side. LEGO themselves never gave it a special name, but a lot of people in the community call it the Travis brick. Travis was an avid LEGO builder who loved building with this piece so much that he got a tattoo of it on his body. But unfortunately, he passed away in 2003. In honor of his memory, people started calling this piece the Travis brick, so if you ever hear someone call it that, now you know why. Moving on to something more positive though, the logo for the Creator Expert theme is actually dedicated to the people who came up with Snot. When AFOLs were first messing around with the headlight brick, they took 6 of them and turned them into a cube. It immediately became one of the most famous builds ever. You can still find it all over the internet today. And to honor this discovery, LEGO used it as the logo for the Creator Expert theme, which is very fitting for a discovery like this. But LEGO's own name also has an accident built into it. LEGO comes from the Danish phrase "leg godt," which means play well, and obviously this was intentional. But later on, people found out that LEGO means I put together or I assemble in Latin, which just so happens to be a complete coincidence. The Christansons obviously did not speak Latin, so this really was a complete accident. But now, let me show you how LEGO almost rejected the sole thing that saved the company over 25 years ago. Before 1999, LEGO never had a singular licensed theme, so technically every theme was a LEGO branded theme. As we all know, LEGO Star Wars was released in 1999, but when it was proposed in a meeting, a senior board member reportedly said, "Over my dead body will you be launching Star Wars in Europe?" And that person is no longer at LEGO. Peter Ayo, who was the president of LEGO Americas, had to fight with the higher-ups just to get the theme approved. And Ole Kirk himself even joined him. LEGO finally signed with Lucasfilm in 1998 after 6 weeks of negotiation. And on the day The Phantom Menace premiered, 50,000 LEGO Star Wars sets sold in Toys R Us alone. That year, LEGO Star Wars did $130 million in US sales, which was about 10% of the company's revenue. LEGO was never even supposed to make the LEGO Star Wars theme, but it opened doors that they could have never even imagined. However, not every theme is as successful as LEGO Star Wars. Galador from 2002 to 2003 is universally regarded as LEGO's worst theme ever. It played a big part in them almost going bankrupt, so it was a pretty big disaster. But there was something buried in that disaster that was genuinely useful. The rotation and click joint system that Galador introduced was actually brilliant and worked really well. That joint technology got used for dinosaurs in Dino Attack, the Hungarian Horntail Dragon in Harry Potter, dragons in the Castle theme, and it's still used today in mechs for Ninjago. So even though Galador itself was a failure, it had pretty good bones. Get it? Bones. Get joints, bones. Yeah, you get it. Now, you've probably heard the term illegal building technique thrown around in the LEGO community. But here's the thing, that term was never official like most people think it is. A designer named Jamie Berard used the word illegal in a 2006 presentation called Stressing the Elements. It was meant to describe techniques that LEGO employees couldn't use in official sets because they would damage pieces over time. The AFOL community saw this presentation and ran away with the term. But Berard has since said that it was never intended to be an official term. The only time LEGO as a company even addressed it is in a small article for LEGO Ideas, where they say that builders submitting sets can use any technique they want. But did you know that the minifigure itself was made to solve a really unique problem? Jens Knudsen's wife explained it very simply in an interview. She said the figure was created so that there would be life in the houses. At the time, LEGO's houses were empty, but then he drew this man. LEGO had been making buildings for years, but Knudsen thought they felt lifeless. He made 50 different prototypes across several years to solve this problem, and eventually he landed on the one that came out in 1978 and changed the world. So it's not like LEGO had some grand plan to make minifigures super popular. They just wanted to give some life to their sets. But now, let me tell you about a time when LEGO completely misunderstood their own product. When LEGO Mindstorms launched in 1998, it was marketed as an educational tool for kids in classrooms. That was the entire point. But company surveys a few months later determined that 70% of people buying LEGO Mindstorms were actually adults. LEGO had accidentally invented the first mainstream home robotics kit, which was a product category that didn't even exist before. But the origin of Mindstorms itself was also a complete accident. In the fall of 1984, Kjeld Christensen happened to be watching TV and saw an interview with an MIT professor named Seymour Papert. Papert was showing how kids could use programming to control robot turtles, and Kjeld was surprised by how similar it was to LEGO's philosophy of learning through play. So he started a whole new project, and it led to a partnership with MIT, the programmable brick, and eventually Mindstorms. The product that saved LEGO's status with adults only exists because the CEO was just chillin', watching TV. But the craziest thing about Mindstorms is that it almost got killed by LEGO's own lawyers before it even got off the ground. Hackers were able to reverse engineer the Mindstorms RCX brick, and they posted the code online. When this happened, LEGO's legal team considered sending cease and desist letters to shut it down, but the Mindstorms team argued that the hacker community embracing the product proved it was worth it to keep going. Hackers only do stuff like this when they really like what a company makes, and since they did it with Mindstorms, it was basically a green light to keep going. But did you know that LEGO accidentally made one of their most important themes by running a test they expected to fail? The LEGO Kuzu site launched as a small experiment in Japan in 2008, and LEGO didn't really expect anything to come of it. They were just throwing the idea at a wall and hoping it would stick. Between 2008 and 2011, only 2 ideas from Kuzu became official sets, but instead of dying, Kuzu exploded and turned into what is now LEGO Ideas, which is one of the most important themes in the entire company. Sets like the Saturn V rocket, the typewriter, the friend's apartment, all came from LEGO Ideas, and it all started with a test that they didn't even think would work. So let's start with a hidden mechanism in Atlantis that completely changes one of the biggest sets in the theme. The City of Atlantis set came out in 2011 as this underwater temple with over 600 pieces. But there's a dial built into the temple that most people never even noticed. And when you turn that dial, a golden Poseidon statue rises up out of the floor like he's emerging from the depths of the ocean. If you only ever saw photos of this set online, you'd have no idea this feature even existed. But that same City of Atlantis set is packed with other action features that make it feel way cooler. There's a trap door built into the floor that drops minifigures into a hidden chamber. And right at the entrance to the temple, there's a swinging axe trap trap that you can trigger yourself. These are classic Indiana Jones-style booby traps protecting the ancient treasure, and that's because this set actually has the main treasure built up in the lore of the theme. See, Atlantis had this collecting aspect to it, where different sets came with different colored keys. There were 5 in total, and the idea was that you'd buy multiple sets to collect all 5 keys like they were rare treasures. But the Portal of Atlantis set came with all 5 of them in one box, so if you bought just this one set, you got the complete collection without needing to hunt down 4 other sets to get them all. Did it kind of defeat the purpose of the other sets? Maybe. But who cares? This theme was awesome because the Deep Sea Raider set had something that was genuinely rare in LEGO. A crossover character from a completely different theme. Dr. Brains is one of the crew members in this set, but he isn't originally from Atlantis at all. He's from Power Miners, which was LEGO's underground mining theme that ended in 2010, right before Atlantis started that same year. So this is a real connection where a LEGO character from an underground theme transitioned to an underwater theme. LEGO even updated his monocle for his new job. And speaking of Power Miners, the Mine Mech set from 2010 gives Dr. Brains a helmet that's actually a reference to an even older theme. It's a recolored Rock Raiders helmet. Rock Raiders was LEGO's underground mining theme from way back in 1999, over a decade before Power Miners. So by giving Brains this specific helmet style, LEGO created one of the most obvious visual links between Power Miners and Rock Raiders. It connects 11 years of LEGO's underground exploration history. But Dr. Brains also has a dual-sided head with a really scared face on one side. And at the time, people compared it to Exo Force, which was LEGO's mech fighting theme from 2006 to 2007. Characters in Exo Force had these really dramatic faces when they were in danger, and Brains' face has that exact same energy. It's not a true crossover like Atlantis, but it's a callback that people who collected Exo Force would immediately recognize. But the connections to Exo Force don't stop with faceplates. The artwork on the back of the box for the Mine Mech set has a design that people said feels identical to how Exo Force sets were marketed. The way the mech is shown with action shots and the overall layout gives off that same vibe. So there's this whole subtle Exo Force influence running all throughout Power Miners. Moving on though, Chima launched in 2013 with a bunch of experimental stuff. And most people remember the Speedor's vehicles with the ripcords. But the Chi Waterfall set came with something a lot of people completely forgot about: physical character battle cards. There was supposed to be a whole card game layer to early Chima where you'd collect these cards and use them in battle with your friends. So Chima wasn't just about building and racing. There was this whole separate game built into the theme that got overshadowed by Speedors. And that Chi Waterfall set is actually designed around Speedors in a really specific way. The entire set revolves around launching a Speedor with a ripcord to try and hit a swinging pendulum and knock Chi crystals loose. So the set itself is a building challenge and a minigame all in one. But one of the craziest transformations Chima ever did shows up in the Flying Phoenix Fire Temple set from 2014. This is a set where the temple itself connects with a giant phoenix figure, and the whole thing converts into a flying attack machine. It's one of the most insane transformations the theme ever made, and I feel like it's completely forgotten now, because it came out later in Chima's life when people were already losing interest in it. But moving on to early Ninjago, the Temple of Air Jitsu from 2015 has a fun little callback hiding on the box art. If you look closely at the artwork, the postman on the box is being harassed by chickens. Now, if you watch the Ninjago TV show, you know the postman is this recurring character who has the worst luck in all of Ninjago. He's constantly getting caught up in ninja battles, accidentally involved in disasters, chased by enemies, all this crazy stuff. The poor guy just wants to send out mail, and he keeps getting dragged into chaos. So putting him on the box getting attacked by chickens is the best way to reference him. But inside the Temple of Air Jitsu, there's a play feature that's both cool on its own and a callback to another theme. There's a small shadow puppet stage powered by a light brick. And you can put figures behind the screen and turn on the light to make shadow puppet shows. People compared this to the projector in the mobile command center set from the Agents theme that came out back in 2008. So it's both a functional play feature and a subtle reference to a completely different theme. The temple has creative little building techniques like this hidden throughout the whole thing that you'd only notice if you really studied the build. Another one is the wash basin in one of the rooms. It's built from an upside down mining helmet. LEGO literally just flipped a helmet upside down and used it as a sink. It's such a simple but clever way to use this piece, but there's something way cooler hiding in the upper levels of this set. It has books and art supplies scattered all around, and the attic has a camera and a hairbrush with some other random stuff. People took one look at these things and immediately connected them to Cole based on how he is in the show. He likes art and creative stuff, so there's a story happening here where Cole's personal stuff is stored in the attic of the temple. But the absolute best nostalgic reference in the entire Temple of Air Jitsu is the glider. People pointed out that it's almost identical to the 1187 glider set from the original 1999 Ninja theme. Not Ninjago, the original Ninja theme that came out 14 years before this temple set. That set was the classic LEGO Ninja line from before Ninjago was even a concept. LEGO's made references to this theme in other Ninjago sets, so the odds of this being true are really high. But now let's move on to everyone's favorite commercial, LEGO City. The deep sea exploration vessel from 2015 has a feature that people loved to see, but was still pretty rare back in the day. The main ship and the smaller boat are actually designed to float on real water. You can put them in a bathtub or a pool and they'll fully float without sinking or tipping over. Most modern LEGO boats aren't designed like this anymore because they're seen more as display models, but this one was meant for the exact opposite. And the underwater shipwreck section in that same set has a really cool hidden action feature built into it. If you pull on the staircase piece, an entire section of the wreck collapses and falls apart. It's designed to look like the old ship is breaking down from age and decay, which adds a lot of life to what could have just been a boring set. The next theme, though, is everyone's favorite, Bionicle. But for this one, I actually want to talk about something that came out in 2023, the Bionicle Tahu and Takua set. This set is absolutely loaded with references to the original 2001 Bionicle launch, and the first things fans noticed was how Tahu is posed. The way he's standing on the surfboard recreates the exact angle and pose from the 2001 promotional artwork that LEGO used to market the first wave of Bionicle. And even before you look at the characters themselves, just the way the set is presented gives you that classic Bionicle feeling. The circular display base is designed to feel like the original Bionicle canisters that the figures came in, because obviously Bionicle didn't come in regular boxes. They came in these canisters that you could only find in that theme, and the display base for this set is definitely a callback to them. But there's also this really tiny detail that only true Bionicle fans would clock. Tahu has a black Technic-style ball joint on his chest as part of his design. This is a direct callback to how the original Bionicle figures were made, because they used these ball joints as part of the chest assembly. It's such a specific building technique that was only used in Bionicle, so only the diehards really understood it. But the tiny beach part of this set has micro builds that recreate a super specific moment from Bionicle's story. There's a Mata Nui stone and a Makuta stone sitting on the sand, and these reference the moment when Tahu first gets to the island of Mata Nui and when Takua, who would later become Takanuva, is awakened. If you don't know about Bionicle's lore, these are just random rocks on a beach, but if you followed the story, you immediately recognized what was going on here. But the next theme I want to talk about is Nexo Knights. This theme launched in 2016 with this whole digital integration concept, and it had scannable shields that were actually functional, not just there for decoration. Sets like the King's Mech and Jestro's Volcano Lair came with these shield pieces that had printed codes on them, and you could scan these shields with your phone using the Nexo Knights app to unlock that shield's specific power in the game. So the physical pieces you got in your sets had real digital functionality. But Jestro's Volcano Lair has one of the weirdest and funniest details in the entire theme. Somewhere in Jestro's personal quarters, there's an oversized white bathtub with a little rubber ducky, represented by a yellow frog, which is such a ridiculous detail. Most evil lairs have torture chambers or weapon rooms or something menacing, but Jestro has a nice relaxing bath with a little rubber ducky. Nexo Knights wasn't the only theme with digital play features though. Ultra Agents did it too, but the way LEGO connected this theme to real life was way cooler than Nexo Knights. They made this thing called an at-brick, which was made with carbon-infused plastic so you could use it like a stylus on your screen. And in the Ocean HQ set, LEGO integrated 4 of them into this big computer screen that sits inside the boat. If you don't know what you're looking at, you have no idea that these pieces do anything besides sit there. I mean, they're fully integrated with the set. But the villain Invisible from the Gold Getaway set is a really specific reference that kids probably didn't catch back in the day. He's based directly on the Invisible Man. This character was made by H.G. Wells all the way back in 1897, and the minifigure's hat and glasses look is taken straight from that story. But that same Gold Getaway set has a bike build with one of the coolest transformations in all of Ultra Agents. The bike splits apart and the wheels rotate upward into a vertical takeoff position. So it goes from a regular bike to a flying bike. And the best part is that both forms look sick. Usually with transforming LEGO vehicles, one mode looks great and the other looks kinda mid. But this thing is goated no matter which way it's configured. But did you know that Ultra Agents has a character who actually comes back from an older theme? That character is Solomon Blaze, and obviously he's in Ultra Agents, but he originally showed up in Galaxy Squad back in 2013. I know you guys love lore, so here's his story. Solomon Blaze started his career in Galaxy Squad as this young pilot fighting bugs on alien planets. He was in his field for a super long time and was even the leader of an entire squadron. He got a lot of experience in his time at Galaxy Squad, so much that he lost a leg. And years later in the LEGO universe, he started working with the Ultra Agents fighting completely different threats on Earth. It's one of the cleanest hidden connections out of any LEGO branded theme. Most minifigs never get anything like this. But Galaxy Squad also had something that's genuinely rare for LEGO, especially these days. The Space Swarmer set from 2013 doesn't have a singular sticker in the entire build. And that's not because it has no detail. The front control panel is printed, the alien bug's mouth design is printed, everything that would normally be a sticker is printed directly onto the pieces. When is the last time LEGO did something like this? I genuinely can't remember. I guess sometimes old LEGO really is better. Before LEGO figured out how to print designs directly onto plastic, they just slapped stickers on the torsos instead. The kids of that era absolutely hated them because after a few months, the stickers would peel off at the edges, collect dirt, and just look terrible. But now, collectors want these stickered torsos more than anything because they're so rare. Most of them got destroyed or the stickers fell off completely, so finding one in good condition is like finding treasure. But if you want to talk about cool printing details, let's talk about classic space sets. A lot of these sets from 1978 to 1987 had a brick with their set number printed right on the hull, like LL928 on the Galaxy Explorer from 1979. The LL stood for Legoland because space was originally part of the Legoland theme before it became its own thing. LEGO stopped doing this in 1987 when the new era started with Futuron and Blacktron. It's one of those details that makes classic space sets feel more authentic and connected. However, there's one part of classic space that might not be so authentic. The logo. That logo showing a spaceship circling a moon was directly inspired by the 1959 NASA seal. If you put them side by side, it's pretty obvious that LEGO took some inspiration from NASA. But before LEGO was making spaceships, they were making wooden toys, and the only reason they stopped is actually really sad. On February 4th, 1960, a massive warehouse fire destroyed LEGO's entire wooden toy inventory. Everything was gone in one night, so the leaders had a choice to make. Should they rebuild rebuild the wooden toy line that they'd been making since 1932, or go all in on plastic bricks. They decided to bet on the future, so they chose plastic, ending 28 years of wooden toy production. But here's the crazy part. Two of old Kirk Kristansen's sons were so pissed off about this decision that they quit in protest and started their own competing toy companies. They saw it as abandoning the family legacy, but obviously, history proved that LEGO made the right call. Anyways, let's talk about why some vintage LEGO bricks don't even work anymore. LEGO's first bricks from 1949 to 1963 were made with cellulose acetate plastic, and over the decades, they got some seriously bad warping. If you have vintage bricks from that era and you try to connect them to modern bricks, there's a good chance they just won't fit properly because they've literally been out of shape over time. They also have this shinier finish compared to modern bricks, so it's pretty easy to tell if you're working with an old one. Eventually, LEGO switched to a plastic that I'm just gonna call ABS, but it wasn't all at once. First, LEGO Denmark switched to ABS plastic in 1963 because they realized cellulose acetate was complete garbage. But Samsonite, the luggage company that was making LEGO for North America at the time, continued using cellulose acetate until 1970 just to save money. That's 7 years where kids in an entire continent were getting objectively worse bricks than others. Imagine being a kid in America trying to build something cool and your bricks don't even fit properly because Samsonite decided to cut corners. And it's not like they didn't know ABS was better. They just didn't want to spend the money to upgrade their production. Another terrible decision involving Samsonite was one of the worst business deals in LEGO history. In 1961, LEGO signed a 99-year exclusive licensing deal, giving Samsonite all North American rights to manufacture and distribute LEGO products. In case you missed it, this deal was 99 years long. LEGO's own leadership later admitted it was a massive mistake, and they had to buy back the rights after just 11 years for way too much money. They did this in 1972, so for over a decade, LEGO was stuck watching Samsonite make low-quality products with their name on them, and there was legally nothing they could do about it. But here's something genuinely concerning about vintage LEGO that most people don't know. Testing has confirmed that LEGO bricks from the 1970s and 80s, particularly yellow and red ones, have cadmium in them, which is a known carcinogen. The levels detected are now illegal in both Denmark, where LEGO is headquartered, and Washington State. So here's the irony. Denmark has some of the strictest cadmium regulations in the world, but their most famous toy broke those regulations for years. Obviously, LEGO stopped using cadmium decades ago once they understood the risks. But if you have vintage yellow or red bricks from that era sitting in a bin somewhere, just be aware of what's in them. But let's move away from toxic bricks and talk about one of the weirdest sets LEGO's ever made. In 1974, the LEGO Family set had these giant figures with posable arms, but legs made out of bricks stacked on top of each other. They looked really bizarre and kind of creepy, but here's the part that everyone jokes about. The set included a mother, a father, a kid, and a grandmother, but there was no grandfather. So for decades, LEGO fans have been making jokes about what happened to Grandpa. Did he die? Did they get divorced? Was he just not invited? Nobody knows, and LEGO never explained it. But despite the creepy design and the missing grandfather, it became one of the biggest sellers in the 70s. Demand was so insanely high that factory workers had to come in and work on public holidays just to keep up. Another weird fact about figures is that when minifigures launched in 1978, they all had the exact same face. 2 black dots for eyes and 1 simple smile. That's it. No eyebrows, no frowns, no angry faces, no variations whatsoever. And the craziest part is that it stayed this way for 11 years, all the way up to 1989. LEGO's philosophy was that kids should use their imagination to give the minifigures emotion, instead of the emotions being told to them with a frowny face or something. It was a bit of a weird philosophy considering how many faceplates we have now, but there's something really funny about these early minifigures. When they launched in 1978, every single male wore a hat, a space helmet, or some kind of head covering. Why? Because LEGO didn't know how to design hair pieces. They couldn't figure out how to make hair that looked good and fit properly on a minifigure's head. So every guy was either bald under his hat or just permanently wearing headgear. The first male hairpiece didn't come out until 1979, a full year after the minifigure's debut. So for an entire year, if you wanted a male minifigure with hair, you were out of luck. Oh, and about those faceplates. Everything changed in 1989 when the Pirates theme came out. This was the the first theme to give minifigures different facial expressions. It had eye patches, beards, makeup, scars, missing teeth, and it was also the first theme to introduce body part variations like hook hands and peg legs. Designer Jens Nygaard Knudsen said a real pirate captain must have a patch on his eye, a peg leg, and a hook. So they couldn't just keep using the default faceplate. But in 1977, back before minifigures were even released, the designers made prototype molds for them out of Lego bricks themselves. They'd stack bricks into a box shape, pour silicone inside, let it harden, then carefully cut it open with a knife to make working prototype molds. So the very first test minifigures were literally made using molds built from Lego bricks. But the story today is wildly different. Now Lego uses 8 different molds to produce every single minifigure. You'd think it'd be simpler, but 2 of those mold sets are identical duplicates that are just reversed. One for molding the right arm and right leg, and another for molding the left arm and left leg. They have to be separate because of how the injection molding process works, but the precision is so ridiculously exact that minifigures from 1978 can still connect perfectly with minifigures from 2025. That's 47 years of perfect compatibility maintained across 8 different molds. But there was a certain type of minifigure that Lego refused to make for 10 years. The skeleton. Skeleton minifigures were designed all the way back in 1985, but when designers presented them, Lego management told them no because they made a dead minifigure. They had no intention of ever releasing it, so the skeleton design just sat in a drawer for an entire decade. After years of debates about whether depicting death was appropriate for a kid's toy, skeletons finally showed up in 1995 in both pirates and castle sets at the same time. Lego eventually got over their fear of showing death, and now skeleton minifigures are one of the most popular ones ever made. But before skeletons, the first non-human minifigure was actually a ghost in the castle theme. It was something completely new for multiple reasons. Obviously, it was a ghost, but that meant it didn't have legs. Instead, the torso attached to a 1x2 brick. But the coolest part? It was glow in the dark. Kids absolutely loved it because not only was it a completely new design, but it glowed in the dark, which was the coolest thing ever in 1990. Speaking of castle, there's a minifigure in this theme that made history in 1993. The blue wizard Magisto from the Dragon Knights theme was the very first Lego minifigure to have his own name. Before Magisto, every minifigure was completely generic, just knight or astronaut or police officer. But Magisto was different. He had a name, a backstory, a personality, and he appeared in multiple castle sets as a recurring character. He was the beginning of Lego creating actual named characters with identities instead of just generic placeholder names. So without him, I never would have been able to make my video about minifigures with hidden lore, and I love that video. Anyways, now let's talk about Legoland, because its opening was way more successful than anyone expected. When Legoland Billund opened on June 7th, 1968, Lego thought it would get about 300,000 visitors at most in its first season, but everyone else in the company thought it was an insane overestimation. However, they hit that number in just a few months. By the end of the season, 625,000 people had visited, which was more than double what they thought the most amount of people would be. The park was built using 6 million Lego bricks and needed thousands of truckloads of soil to be brought in just to even out the land and be able to build everything. But the reason Legoland even opened in the first place is something you're not gonna believe. In the mid-1960s, about 20,000 people per year were showing up at the Lego factory in Billund uninvited, just wanting to see display models and watch how bricks were made. Godfred Christiansen was getting so annoyed by random factory visitors constantly disrupting production that he had Legoland built just to give them something else to look at. That way, when random people wanted to see Lego stuff, they could go there instead of interrupting production. Bro literally built the most famous theme park ever just to get people to go away. It's so insane. Anyways, let's get back to the space theme for a second, because 1987 was a massive turning point. You've probably heard people talk about space and classic space like they're two different things, and they definitely are, don't get me wrong. But what separates them, and when did it happen? Well, classic space ran from 1978 to 1987, and the change to space is defined by one singular piece: the visorless helmet. It's the most iconic helmet in Lego history, but in 1987, Lego introduced completely new helmets with movable clear visors for the Futuron theme, and that single helmet change marked the official end of the classic space era. Old classic space sets were still being sold through 1988, but they started incorporating new colors and designs. And when Space Police launched in 1989 to fight Blacktron, nearly every single Space Police set had a modular jail cell. And here's the best part. They came pre-stocked with Blacktron prisoner minifigures. The jail cells were designed to be interchangeable between all the different vehicles and bases, so kids could combine different sets and build their own massive prison fleet. It was one of the first times LEGO really leaned into cross-set compatibility, where buying multiple sets gave you stuff that worked together. But the coolest space faction has to be M-Tron from 1990. It wasn't just aesthetically cool with its red, black, and neon green color scheme. The sets featured actual working magnets built into crane attachments that could physically pick up and transport small cargo containers. But for some reason, M-Tron was marketed completely differently depending on where you lived. In Europe, they were marketed as a rescue faction that saved people, while in America, they were marketed as a mining faction that extracted resources. They were the same exact sets, but they had completely different backstories depending on what side of the Atlantic you were on, which makes absolutely no sense. Every single Batman cowl has eye holes that show his forehead underneath. But here's the thing. In the comics, Batman's eyes are supposed to be white, right? So how does LEGO pull that off when the cowl has holes in it? Well, they print white headbands or goggles on the headpiece underneath that line up perfectly with the cowl's eye holes to create that white comic book eye effect. If you take the cowl off any Batman minifigure, you'll see this weird white band across his forehead, and suddenly it all makes sense. But speaking of Batman's cowl, there's another detail about it that you might not have noticed. The short-eared Batman cowl that came out in 2015 doesn't have a molded chin strap like the other versions did. Because of that, Batman's face has to be printed on a black headpiece that matches the cowl instead of a light nougat-colored one. And this actually makes his skin tone a lot darker than usual. It's not something LEGO meant to do, it's just a side effect of how they had to design the minifigure. But if you compared a short-eared Batman to a long-eared one, you can definitely see the difference. But now, let me show you something that's actually pretty funny. The Vacation Batman minifigure from the LEGO Batman movie series wears a rubber duck pool floaty, which is honestly hilarious by itself. But if you look closely at the duck's face, you'll see it has Nightwing's mask printed on it. This is a hidden Dick Grayson reference on Batman's vacation gear, and honestly, it's one of the funniest details LEGO's ever done. But not every detail in LEGO DC is intentional or clever. Sometimes LEGO just gets things wrong, and a perfect example is the Orca minifigure. Her headpiece has gills printed on it, which looks cool and all, but here's the problem. Orcs are mammals with lungs, not fish. They don't have gills. LEGO sacrificed biological accuracy for aesthetics, which I guess is fine for a toy, but it's still kind of funny that they made this mistake. But now, let's talk about the Batman animated series Gotham City set, because this thing is packed with details. The set has 15 removable panels on the buildings, and if you pull them off, you'll find tiny stickered tiles showing villains like Ventriloquist, Mad Hatter, Killer Croc, and Bane as Arkham inmates. You'd literally never see these unless you physically removed the panels, which most people probably won't even do. Speaking of hidden tiles, the Arkham Asylum set has a printed egg tile hidden behind the electrical junction box. This is a reference to Egghead, the egg-themed villain from the 1966 Batman TV show, who was played by Vincent Price. Now, Egghead is a super random character who most people have probably never heard of, so LEGO putting him in the set at all is pretty impressive. But the weird character references don't stop there. Hidden in the rafters of the roof are bottles of ketchup and mustard, which is a reference to Condiment King, the absurd villain who uses condiments as weapons. I'm not kidding, this is a real character. He literally shoots ketchup and mustard at people as his main form of attack. He's a running joke in the DC fanbase, so LEGO decided that he deserved a reference in the rafters, where nobody would ever look. I have no idea why they chose to include Condiment King of all villains, but I'm not complaining. It's one of the funniest hidden details in any LEGO DC set. And while we're in the attic, there's also a stickered crossword puzzle left behind by the Riddler. This makes perfect sense because the Riddler is obsessed with puzzles and riddles, so of course he'd be doing crosswords. Moving downstairs though, the security desk has a newspaper sitting on it, and at first first, it just looks like a random newspaper to fill space. But if you look closely at the headline, it says The Batman Returns. This is the iconic cover from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns #1 comic, which is one of the most famous Batman stories ever written. It completely changed how people saw the character back when it came out in 1986. It showed an older, more brutal Batman coming out of retirement, and it basically defined the modern interpretation of him. So LEGO referencing it in the Arkham Asylum set is a really nice nod to comic fans who know what they're looking at. But the comic references don't stop there. There's one sitting in the dumpster outside, but it's not just any comic. It's Batman #9. Someone at Arkham Asylum threw out a comic that's worth like $200,000. I don't know who's in charge of taking out the trash at this place, but they need to be fired immediately. However, there's more to the dumpster than just this comic. Obviously, Arkham Asylum is extremely bad at keeping villains locked up. Like, it's literally impossible to know how many have broken out. But the reason they've been able to is hiding in this dumpster, or should I say behind it. If you pull it away from the wall, the door to every cell just magically opens. Now, obviously, this isn't the actual reason why, like it's not canon in DC, but it's LEGO's way of telling us that they know the asylum's reputation. But if we move to the outside of the set, there's still cool stuff you can find. The set comes with a patient transportation truck, which is used to take all the villains to the asylum. But if you look on top of it, you'll see the numbers 7785. And if you know LEGO, you know they love referencing themselves. This is actually the set number for the first Arkham Asylum set from 2006. Usually, LEGO puts stuff like this on the license plate of the car, but this time it's on top instead. One more thing about this set before we move on is that the fence outside has these brown colored pieces on the ground and sausage pieces to represent the fence being broken. At first glance, it just looks like debris or damage to the fence, but here's what's actually happening. Clayface just escaped through a pipe. You're not looking at random pieces or decoration. You're witnessing an active prison break. Clayface can morph his body into any shape, so of course he'd squeeze through a pipe to escape. Now, obviously, there are way more cool details in this set, but let's move away from it and talk about the 1966 TV series Batcave set, because this one is full of references to the classic show. First of all, there's a Shakespeare statue sitting on the desk, and at first it just looks like a decoration, but you can actually lift it up, and there's a button hidden underneath it. This is there to represent the button Bruce and Dick pressed to go down to the Batcave. In the show, a bookcase would slide over to reveal poles that they'd slide down, and LEGO recreated that too. Now, obviously, you can't really press the button in this set and make the bookcase slide over, but imagine if you could. That'd be really sick. Anyways, while we're in Wayne Manor, let me point out something that most people probably didn't even notice. The study has these special printed bricks with wallpaper patterns on them. Most LEGO sets just use solid colored bricks for walls and call it a day, or God forbid, a million stickers. But LEGO actually printed these intricate wallpaper designs to make Wayne Manor feel more luxurious and expensive. It's a really small detail, but it makes a huge difference in how the set feels. Moving on from Wayne Manor, let me show you one of the coolest features in the Batcave Clayface Invasion set. Just like the transformation chamber in the Batcave break-in set, there's one here too, but it works a little differently. You place Bruce Wayne on top of the tower and Batman inside the phone booth. Then you pull a pin and Bruce disappears while Batman appears at the bottom through a trap door mechanism. Instead of just swapping the minifigures yourself like you would with any other set, LEGO built an actual mechanism that shows the transformation happening, which is really cool. Speaking of cool features, the 1989 Batmobile has something hidden that you might not notice. Two machine guns are tucked away in there, and when you rotate the turbine exhaust on the back of the car, they pop up automatically. This is accurate to the 1989 Batman movie, and the first time you do it, it's super satisfying. Pieces even pop off of the car, showing that the guns truly were hidden, which adds another layer of awesomeness. But there's something about this Batmobile that most people don't know, and it really shows how much effort LEGO put into this set. The wraparound windshield piece didn't exist before it came out. LEGO made an entirely new mold just to capture the car's distinctive look accurately. accurately. Making new molds is expensive and time-consuming. It's not something LEGO does all the time, so the fact that they were willing to go through all that effort for a single windshield piece shows how important they thought this set was. But of course, this isn't the only Batmobile set with a sick play feature, because the Pursuit of the Joker set has one too. One of the coolest things about this version of the Batmobile is that it shoots giant flames out of its exhaust, so LEGO made sure to put a fire piece on their version. But don't worry, this isn't the whole story. That flame piece is connected to the car's wheels, so when you move it, the piece rotates in circles. This was definitely the best way for LEGO to represent fire, and everyone was really happy to see it. Alright, now let's talk about the Batcave Shadow Box, because this set is absolutely showing off with its features. There's a Batsuit vault built into the cave wall that opens and closes from the back, revealing an alternate Batman costume inside. But here's what makes it special. There's a light brick placed directly above the Batsuit chamber. So when you open the vault and turn on the light, the interior lights up and you can see the costume perfectly. It's like a museum exhibit for Batman's suit. Another cool detail is that the Bat computer shows Batman tracking villains on his screens. Right now, they're displaying the Penguin, but here's the cool part. You can change which villain is displayed by turning a knob on the back of the set. It doesn't just change the main monitor either. It changes every single one. Oh, and Batman's brick-built chair at the desk setup rotates too. There's another knob on the back that lets you turn it 360 degrees. Honestly, this play feature is kind of unnecessary, but it's really sick that LEGO did it anyway. But now, let me show you something in the 2022 Batcave set that's actually kind of genius. The set comes with a special magnifying glass piece, and scattered around the build are 4 elements with coded messages from the Riddler. They all have red, yellow, and blue printing. So when you hold the magnifying glass up, the red tint basically cancels out the warm colors and lets you see the secret message in blue. The first one is on the left side of the Bat computer, and it's a picture of the Batarang. But the next 3 are all tile pieces scattered throughout the set. The first one says, "To the Batman." The second one is a picture of the Riddler's face in minifigure form. And the third one is the Riddler's logo from the Batman from 2022. Now, obviously, you can figure out what these messages are without the magnifying glass. But this is a really cool play feature that I've never actually seen in LEGO before. And literally everyone who built this set loved it, so it was definitely a good move. Switching gears though, this next detail may be in a Batman set, but it's actually a reference to something from a LEGO branded theme. The Joker Manor set comes with an area where Batman watches romance movies, and one of them is a movie called Forever Sorting 2. Now, obviously this movie is a sequel, but where can you find the original? Well, it was actually playing at the Palace Cinema set way back in 2013. The set the sequel is in came out a whole 4 years after the Palace Cinema set, so it was a really deep cut reference that a lot of people probably didn't even know about. But to end the video, we're gonna talk about a detail in a set that isn't even out yet, and people are already arguing about what it's referencing, and it's all over one singular piece. The set I'm talking about is the Batman logo, which comes out in March of this year. It's a display piece meant to honor the 20th anniversary of the original LEGO Batman theme, which got its first official set in 2006. Now, the main part of this set is obviously the logo, but if you look closely, you'll notice that it's absolutely loaded with pieces that are references to a bunch of different characters. There are Batarangs for Batman, whips for Catwoman, a bowl hat for the Riddler, but one of the pieces that's here is a crowbar, and this is the piece that's causing so much commotion. Most people think this is here to represent the Riddler's cane, since he came with this exact piece in a different color in the Arkham Asylum set last year. But Ashen Flash actually brought up a great point. He said that it might be referencing one of the biggest deaths in the comics, when the Joker beats Red Hood to death with a crowbar. Now, obviously, this would be a really dark reference, especially since LEGO made this set for kids as young as 12. But truly, it could go either way. Back in 2010, they released the Trash Compactor Escape set, and if you were a Toy Story fan who bought it, you got the ending of Toy Story 3 completely spoiled for you. The set shows the little green alien saving Woody, Buzz, and the rest of the toys from getting crushed in the trash compactor, which is literally the climax of the entire movie. The problem is, this set came out before the movie was released in theaters, so anyone who bought it knew exactly how everyone was going to survive before they even watched it. LEGO's actually done this multiple times with different movies, but this one might be the worst, because that trash compactor scene is genuinely one of the most emotional moments in the entire Toy Story trilogy. In this movie and every other Pixar movie, there's a number you can find hiding in plain sight, and LEGO decided to hide it in one of their sets too. If you don't know what A113 is, it's the classroom number of Cal Arts, where a lot of Pixar animators study, so they put it in their films as a tribute, and LEGO included it in the Cars 2 Jet Spy Escape set. If you look at the plane's wing, you'll see A113 printed right on it, which is a direct callback to how Pixar hides this number in all of their movies. It's such a weird detail that most people probably didn't even notice, but for die-hard Pixar fans, seeing it on a LEGO set is pretty cool. Obviously, Pixar loves recurring Easter eggs, and one of the most emotional ones is actually in the Up house set. Carl's minifigure has the grape soda bottle cap badge on his jacket, which is the same one that Ellie gave him when they were kids. If you've seen Up, you know this badge represents their entire relationship, and the fact that LEGO included it as a tiny printed detail on Carl's minifigure is honestly really sweet. But what makes this even cooler is that the grape soda badge also shows up as an Easter egg in other Pixar movies. So LEGO is referencing both Up and Pixar's tradition of hiding recurring Easter eggs at the same time. But now let's switch gears and talk about Jurassic Park, because LEGO went absolutely crazy for the 30th anniversary sets in 2023. Every single set from that wave has a hidden frog in it, and they're all different colors in completely different locations. The Brachiosaurus Discovery set has a coral frog at the base of a tree. The Visitor Center set has a pink frog on a cake. The Dilophosaurus Ambush set has a white frog next to a shaving cream can. The Triceratops Research set has a brown frog in a dino dung pile, and the Velociraptor Escape set has a green frog between the barriers. But why are all of these frogs even here? Well, if you've seen Jurassic Park, you know the dinosaurs were created using frog DNA to fill in the gaps, which is why they were able to change gender and breed in the first movie. The designer Atticus Cy McCarthy confirmed this was intentional, and honestly, it's such a clever way to reference one of the most important plot points without being obvious about it. All of these Easter eggs are in completely different sets, but the Luxo Jr. set is a completely different story. I've already talked about this set in a different video, but there are definitely a few references I missed. I covered a bunch of them, like Woody and Buzz from Toy Story, Sully and Mike from Monsters Inc., Carl and Russell from Up, Linguini and Remy from Ratatouille, and characters from The Incredibles. But there are actually more that I didn't get to talk about, so let me show you the rest. Nemo and Dory are represented by colored bricks in the base of the lamp, and if you look around, you'll start to see way more characters. There's Lightning McQueen and Mater from Cars, Joy and Sadness from Inside Out, and there's even a reference to turning red using black, red, and blue pieces. The designer Tom Girardin challenged people to find all 32, and I definitely failed. I mean, there's no way I could find all of them. But going back to the Up house set for a second, there's another reference that I haven't talked about yet. Hidden in a crate behind the television is Ellie's adventure book, which is one of the most important objects in the entire movie. If you remember, Carl discovers at the end of the movie that Ellie secretly added pages to the book telling him to go on his own adventure after she's gone. It's genuinely one of the saddest and most beautiful moments in any Pixar movie, so seeing the adventure book hidden in the LEGO set is a really nice tribute. Now, this next one is genuinely insane because LEGO made a set that references itself and a childhood classic at the same time. If you build the Home Alone house set, you'll actually find a tiny LEGO set sitting under the Christmas tree inside the house. And it's not just any LEGO set, it's the Home Alone house set itself. So you're building a LEGO set that has a smaller version of itself as a Christmas present inside of it. It's this whole meta thing that LEGO loves to do every once in a while, and honestly, it's really cool. But that's not the only reference in the Home Alone set, because if you look on the shelf in Buzz's room, you'll actually find a reference to Home Alone 2. There's a little Duncan's Toy Chest sign sitting right there, which is this massive toy store in New York that Kevin visits in the sequel. It's one of the most iconic locations in Home Alone 2, so seeing it hidden in the first movie's house is a nice cutest little nod. While we're talking about this set, there's also a Dalmatia travel guide on the fridge, and this one is actually a personal Easter egg from the set's designer. The designer's name is Antika Brakanov, and she's from Croatia, which is where the Dalmatia region is located. But she's not the only designer who did this, because the Wet Bandits van license plate reads AEK37, which has personal significance to the designer Alex Storazuk. In the actual movie, the license plate is 4565AK, so LEGO changed it to make it more personal. Speaking of designers hiding their names, the Nightmare Before Christmas set has something similar. Jack's Christmas formula chalkboard reads SI equals Xmas, and this is actually a tribute to the fan designer Simon Scott, who originally submitted the set to LEGO Ideas. So LEGO took his initials and worked them into Jack's equation, which is a really cool way to honor the person who designed the set in the first place. But that's not the only Easter egg in the Nightmare Before Christmas set, because hiding underneath the house is a LEGO skeleton holding a spoon next to a cauldron, a green bottle, and a bowl. And if you know the movie, you know exactly what this means. Sally is constantly trying to poison Dr. Finkelstein so she can escape and go see Jack. And apparently in the LEGO universe, she finally succeeded. It's dark, but also kind of hilarious, and it's the type of Easter egg that only makes sense if you've actually watched the movie. The Hocus Pocus set also has a fun little addition that wasn't even in the movie. In the upstairs bedroom, you can find Mary Sanderson's vacuum, which is a creative touch from the designers. In the actual movie, sometimes Mary flies on a vacuum instead of a broomstick when she can't find one. So even though we never saw a vacuum upstairs in the movie, we all know why it's there. But what LEGO did in the Ghostbusters Firehouse headquarters set was the complete opposite. One of the most well-known characters in the Ghostbusters franchise is Stay Puft, but for some reason, LEGO didn't put a minifigure of him in the set. He's absolutely essential to the series, and LEGO knew they messed up by not putting him in the set. So instead of a minifigure, they put him on the screen of an arcade machine. A video game is a fun way to reference him, and technically this next reference isn't in a physical LEGO set, but it's way too good not to mention. In the LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga video game, there's a moment in episode 4 where stormtroopers get sucked out into space through an airlock. If you pause the game at just the right moment, you'll actually see Indiana Jones's hat flying out with them. This is because both Star Wars and Indiana Jones are owned by the same studio, and LEGO loves to throw in crossover references like this whenever they can. But LEGO doesn't just reference movies, they also reference their own history. In the Back to the Future DeLorean set, the time circuit display shows the date January 28th, 1958. Now, if you've seen Back to the Future, you know that the DeLorean can travel to any date in history. So at first, this just seems like a random date that LEGO picked, but it's not random at all. January 28th, 1958 is the exact date that the modern LEGO brick patent was filed. So instead of using a date from the movie, LEGO decided to use an important date in their own history. LEGO also loves to reference their own sets, like we saw in the Home Alone set. In the Hogwarts Icon set, there's a gillyweed potion sitting on a shelf, and if you look closely at the label, it says 4701 on it. This might just seem like a random number, but 4701 is actually the set number of the very first LEGO Harry Potter set ever released. So LEGO is literally paying tribute to where the Harry Potter theme started by hiding the original set number in one of their newer sets. Another Harry Potter set with a number like this is in the Hogwarts Icons Collection set. It comes with 4 potions, and along with multiple references to different designers, the Wormwood bottle has P349 on the back, but the problem is that it's actually a typo. This is supposed to be a reference to the scene where Snape tells his class to turn to page 394.
Turn to page 394.
But somehow the designers messed it up and put 349 instead. Alright, this next one is gonna take a minute because the Disney Castle sets are absolutely packed with hidden references. I'm talking about both the Disney Castle from 2016 and the one from 2023 because they both have a ton of hidden stuff in them. Let's start with the 2023 version because it has some of the craziest details I've ever seen in a LEGO set. First off, there's a removable tower that hides Walt Disney's vintage film camera inside of it. Like, you can actually take the tower off and find this tiny camera build, which is a tribute to the guy who started it all. Right next to the camera, there's a printed tile of Steamboat Willie, which is the 1928 Mickey Mouse cartoon that basically launched Disney's entire empire. But we're just getting started, because there's also a poisoned apple hiding behind a window in the front tower, and you have to really look for it during the build to even notice it's there. This is obviously a reference to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937, which was Disney's first full-length animated film. And if you keep exploring, you'll find the magic mirror from Snow White too. The 2023 version has the mirror on the wall moment, and the version from 2016 also has a magic mirror reference. So Snow White gets a lot of love in both castles. Now let's talk about the other Disney princesses, because they're all hiding in here too. The 2016 version has Cinderella's glass slipper sitting in a case, which is hidden in a compartment under a blue roof on the far side of the castle. Both castles also have references to Aladdin. The 2023 version has the genie's lamp and the magic carpet in the library, and the 2016 version also has Aladdin's lamp and rug. These are obviously from the 1992 film, and seeing them hidden in the castle is a nice tribute. Both castles also have the enchanted rose from Beauty and the Beast, which is sitting in a glass case in the library of the 2023 version. The 2016 version has the rose too, along with a Lumiere candle, which is a reference to the cursed rose that's slowly losing petals throughout the movie. If you keep looking, you'll find Sleeping Beauty's spinning wheel, which actually rotates in the 2023 version to show the curse taking effect. The 2016 version has the spinning wheel too, but it's hidden behind an enchanted fireplace. But finally, both castles have a reference to the Little Mermaid. The 2023 version has the dingle hopper, which is the fork that Ariel uses to comb her hair. The dingle hopper is one of those things that everyone who grew up watching The Little Mermaid remembers, because Ariel has absolutely no idea what a fork is. So seeing it hidden in the Disney castle is a fun little callback to one of the most memorable scenes from the movie. When you look at a box for a Lego set, obviously the main things you'll notice are the set you're going to build on the front, the Lego logo, and maybe a few other things. But Bailey Fullerton decided to do a complete breakdown of the anatomy of Lego boxes on BrickNerd, and he gave us some really cool information. Near the barcode where the set gets scanned in stores, there's another white box with a line of numbers and a letter. Now, this may seem like some random serial number that has nothing to do with you, which honestly it kind of is, but if you know where some of Lego's manufacturing factories are, you'll be able to tell where that set in particular was made by the letter in the serial number. This set has the letter G, which means it was made in Jiaxing, China. The other 4 known Lego factories are in Järighaza, Hungary, Cienega de Flores, Mexico, Kladno, Czech Republic, and Perkersdorf, Austria, and they all have their own corresponding letter. The numbers also tell you the day, week, and year the set was made, so you can know exactly when it was made too. So the next time you buy a Lego set, check out that serial number. But if you're buying a set with this pattern trim on the bottom, you're really gonna want to check that out, because most of the time, Lego hides stuff like that guitar I mentioned in the intro. That one in particular is on the box for the Fender set from the Ideas theme, but this box design is used on loads of sets from different themes. It's in Marvel, DC, Icons, and way more. But if it's on that many sets, then surely there are a million little Easter eggs to find, right? And I'm about to show you all of them? Well, no. I was only able to find them on like 4 different sets, including the Fender set, but don't worry, they're still really cool. The next one I'll show you is on the box of the Luke's helmet set from Lego Star Wars, and unlike the guitar on the Fender set, this one isn't just sitting right there on the front. Instead, it's on the bottom of the box, and there you'll find a pair of blacked out lightsabers. As you'll learn as I keep showing you these types of hidden details can be literally anywhere on the box, so if you're gonna go looking for some yourself, make sure you check the entire thing. Anyways, there's also something hiding on the bottom of the box for the Iron Man helmet set too. This one is a lot easier to spot, but there's a version of Iron Man's helmet sitting on a pedestal on this one. Now, both of these helmet sets have pretty small boxes, so they only had 1 Easter egg apiece. But when you look at something like the Lego Batman Arkham Asylum set, it's a completely different story. This set has almost 3,000 pieces, so the box for it is pretty big. And that means there's way more than just 1 Easter egg hiding on the box. We've got the Batarang, Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, Batman's cowl, Diana's sword, Green Lantern's ring, Aquaman's trident, and a very hard to see Flash's cowl on the corner. Apparently, there's also a piece of kryptonite somewhere, but since I don't own this set, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it. Lego does way more than just hide little items like this though, and what they did for the roller coaster set from the Creator Expert theme is probably one of the coolest packaging Easter eggs they've ever done. In the top right corner of the box, you can see an orange hat flying off of someone's head, and when you actually build the set, Lego has you put that same hat on the ground. Obviously, where the hat landed isn't anywhere near where it flew off the person's head, but I absolutely love how Lego tied their box art into the actual build for the set. Another type of box art Lego does is actually on the inside, and the best examples of this are the Bugatti Chiron and Lamborghini Sián sets. So I'll start with the Bugatti. Usually when you open up the box for a Lego set, all you find are a bunch of plastic bags and an instructions manual. But when you open up the box for the Bugatti Chiron, you're met with boxes that line up to make a picture of the car in real life. Even the instruction manual is part of the design. And as if this isn't already enough, when you flip the boxes over, they make a picture of the back of the car too. Lego is extremely meticulous with their high-end Technicars, so of course they did something similar with the Lamborghini Sián set. The boxes are shaped a lot differently, but they make a picture of the rear windshield, and even though these ones aren't reversible like the Bugattis, the manuals at the bottom make a full picture of the set you're about to build. LEGO doesn't usually do anything cool with instructions like this, unless the set is really expensive. But one set that surprisingly got something similar is the Home Alone set from the Ideas theme. Now, it did retail for $300, so I guess it isn't that surprising. But in this set, you can find Kevin's battle plan on the back of the instructions. This was the key to him staying alive when he got left home alone for Christmas, so to see it in LEGO form is pretty cool. Since I'm talking about instructions, there are two sets that I just have to tell you about. And the first one is the Death Star, specifically the new UCS Death Star from this year. Now, obviously the set itself isn't that great, but since it is a UCS set, LEGO went pretty hard on the packaging. All of the pieces come in these 3 boxes, but the thing I want to show you is that the instruction manuals have the Death Star plans on them, since, you know, you're about to build the Death Star. But honestly, it's not as cool as what LEGO did for the Pirates comic from 1989, because this set is a literal comic. It came with a few minifigures you could build, but the main selling point was the 36-page comic book inside. This is the first time I've ever seen LEGO do something like this. I mean, an actual comic book for the Pirates theme is so cool. But did you know you can find LEGO boxes inside actual sets? Let me explain what I mean. The world around the modular buildings theme has gotten built up pretty well in the last few years, and since LEGO put so much time and effort into this theme, they've started weaving more things from real life into it. And one of those things are LEGO sets. If you build the Assembly Square set, you'll find a tile piece of the box for the cafe corner, the first set in the modular buildings theme. It has an insane resale price these days, so I guess this mom is pretty rich. But let's get back to hidden details in actual LEGO packaging. We've seen so far that LEGO loves to hide references to a set's IP, make pictures on the insides of boxes, and tell little stories through their packaging. But another thing they like to do is make specialty boxes specifically for certain sets. A really cool example of this is what they did for the Upside Down set from the Stranger Things theme. The whole thing with the Upside Down is that it's a dark version of the dimension we live in, and because of how terrible it is, it feels like everything is upside down. If this got explained in season 5, don't tell me, I haven't watched it yet. But to represent this, LEGO designed the set so it could be displayed showing Will Byers' house in the regular world and his house in the Upside Down, and they designed the box to do the same thing. On the front of the box, the LEGO and Stranger Things logos are upside down in the bottom right corner, so if you flip it over, it looks like you traveled to the other dimension. As cool as this is, it's nowhere near as cool as what they did for the Adidas sets from 2021. After their collab with Levi's in 2020, their re-partnership with Adidas was their next big collab in fashion, and they wanted to make sure people knew about it. So they made 3 sets based on the most popular Adidas shoes ever made, and the boxes for these sets were all shaped like the boxes that come with the actual shoes. People talked about this a lot when it happened, so it's kind of weird that LEGO didn't do the same thing for their recent Nike collab. People go crazy over good packaging, and the Adidas sets are proof of that, so this Nike collab really was a missed opportunity for them. But if you thought cool boxes like this were a new thing, let me catch you up, because what LEGO was doing for the Bionicle theme was super sick. Obviously, Bionicle was way more than just another LEGO theme. It went global and even got its own show on Cartoon Network. And funnily enough, LEGO was able to take something from the show and replicate it in real life. In the show, the Toas would travel in these things called canisters. So LEGO did the same thing in real life and packaged Bionicle sets in these canisters. These were obviously just for show like the Adidas boxes, but sometimes LEGO makes packaging that's practical for the set it's holding. In 2020, LEGO made a theme called Dots, and unlike your average theme with actual bricks, Dots was basically just a bunch of 1x1 tiles in different shapes. The idea was based on pixel art, and even though it didn't end up selling very well, LEGO tried their absolute hardest to make sure people liked it. So the boxes for sets in this theme came with built-in storage trays, so the builder had a way to organize all of the different pieces. This was pretty thoughtful of LEGO, but you won't believe what they did for the UCS Millennium Falcon. And the funny thing is, I'm not even talking about the actual box for the set. Back in 2017, when this version was released in stores, it was the biggest set LEGO had ever made, with over 7,500 pieces. So the box for it was absolutely huge, and it weighed a ton. LEGO didn't want anyone who bought it to have to carry it out of the store with their brute strength, since that could easily end in a lawsuit. So their solution was to make a custom box for the box with a handle and wheels on the bottom like a suitcase. That way, nobody would have to figure out how to carry it outside on their own, and instead they could just roll it right on out. I don't know if LEGO's ever done this for any other set, especially since literally everyone shops online now. So if you know of another one, definitely let me know in the comments, because this is really cool. Anyways, this next detail isn't quite as crazy, but it'll definitely make all the classic Pirates fans happy. This theme ran for over 25 years, and when it ended in 2015, a lot of fans were left without one of their favorite themes ever. But it wasn't over yet. In 2020, the Pirates of Barracuda Bay set released in the LEGO Ideas theme, which meant that a fan's take on classic pirates had actually managed to pass LEGO's review. But that's not the cool part. The cool part is that instead of using the newer box design from 2015, LEGO used the OG box design from back in the day, with the name in the top right corner and everything. Obviously, fans who lived through the Pirates era were super happy to see this, so when LEGO released the El Dorado Fortress set in the Icons theme in 2023, they used the old design again. So far, this is the only Pirates set in the Icons theme, so if they ever release another one, hopefully it'll have that same classic box design we all know and love. Moving on from that though, did you know there's a way to tell which minifigure you're getting in CMF 25? Obviously, the whole thing with these minifig series is that they're blind boxes, so you never know which minifigure you're gonna get. But apparently there was a way to tell for Series 25, and it actually ties into that serial number from the beginning of the video. Now, I have no idea if any of this is true, but apparently 4 Bricks Tall on TikTok was able to get their hands on serial numbers from each country that tell you which minifigure you're getting. Once you know which country corresponds with the letter you have, you can scan the QR code and the first 7 numbers will tell you which one you have. Now, again, I have no idea how true this is, but when they opened up their pack on TikTok, they had the right one, so I guess it worked once. If any of you have tried this out, I would love to know if it actually worked. But before you tell me, let me show you something insane about the packaging for the LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga video game. Unfortunately, this was only a thing for the deluxe edition, and obviously you had to have a physical copy to be able to experience this. But when you take off the cover sleeve, you actually take off Darth Vader's mask and reveal what he looks like underneath. This is another brand new thing to me that I've never seen LEGO do, and when I saw it for the first time, I thought it was really sick. In the 2017 LEGO Ninjago movie, when Naya slides into school on her motorcycle, she pulls off the famous bike slide from a movie called Akira. And if you don't know what that is, it's this legendary power slide where the main character, Kaneda, does this absolutely iconic motorcycle drift. This shot has been copied in basically everything since then. Movies, TV shows, video games, you name it, and it's probably there. It's become one of the most recognizable moments in animation history. But what makes the Ninjago version so cool is that it's shot for shot identical to the original. LEGO didn't just kinda sorta reference it. They went all in and made sure everyone would recognize it. The angle, the pose, the way the bike slides sideways, everything matches perfectly. Now, references to anime and movies make sense, but this next one is way different. In 2021, LEGO put out the Spider Queen's Arachnoid set from the Monkey Kid theme, and buried inside the mech's abdomen is a sticker of the Lo-Fi Girl. You know, that animated character from the Lo-Fi hip-hop radio YouTube channel that's been playing non-stop for years. The stream has over 218 million views, so she's basically become the face of studying and chill music on the internet. This reference is so weird that most people building the set probably had no idea what they were even looking at, unless they're from Gen Z or Gen Alpha. The sticker shows her sitting at her desk with her cat in the window, exactly like the YouTube thumbnail. But here's where it gets really cool. This Easter egg actually led to an official collaboration between LEGO and the Lo-Fi Girl later on. People were theorizing that this might happen, but nobody actually thought it would. Speaking of fan theories though, LEGO took the ultimate Star Wars conspiracy theory and made it real. In 2024, they released the Dark Falcon set, which is based on the Star Wars special Rebuild the Galaxy. And in this set, they included Darth Jar Jar. That's right, the conspiracy theory that Jar Jar Binks was secretly a Sith Lord finally came true in brick form. He's got a double-sided red lightsaber and everything, and he looks absolutely menacing. People have been joking about this online for over 25 years, making memes and writing full-blown essays about how Jar Jar was gonna be the big villain before George Lucas chickened out. The theory basically says that all of Jar Jar's clumsy moments were actually advanced force techniques, and he was manipulating everyone the entire time. And then LEGO went and actually made the minifigure. This is the kind of stuff that makes the internet lose its mind, and LEGO knew exactly what they were doing. The set also has other alternate universe characters, like Jedi Vader and Darth Rey, but Darth Jar Jar is definitely the star of the show. But another meme LEGO couldn't resist was one from the Lord of the Rings. You know, the one where Boromir says, "One does not simply walk into Mordor." Well, LEGO referenced it twice. First, in the 2012 Lord of the Rings video game, there's literally an achievement called "One does not simply walk into Mordor," with Boromir in that exact pose from the meme. But then in 2023, LEGO released the Rivendell set, and in the official photos, they recreated the iconic council scene. They posed the Boromir minifigure the exact same way, with his hands out in that explaining something gesture that turned into the meme. So LEGO basically said, yeah, we know this is a meme, and we're gonna lean into it hard. But even when they don't know about a meme, they still manage to reference it. In 2025, they released the Woodland Mansion fighting ring set from the Minecraft movie theme, which features a chicken jockey. Now, here's the thing. This set came out before the movie actually hit theaters, but after the trailers dropped, the chicken jockey became one of the biggest memes from the film. People were making jokes about it everywhere, posting screenshots, and going crazy when they heard it in theaters. LEGO released this set with that exact moment already in it, basically beating the internet to the punch. They somehow predicted the future, and hardly anyone even noticed it. But now, I need to tell you about what might be the best hidden Easter egg LEGO's ever done. In March of 2025, they released the Dinosaur Fossils Tyrannosaurus Rex set. It's this massive 3,145-piece skeleton that's over 3 feet long and absolutely stunning to look at. But deep inside the spine, right in the center of the rib cage, there's a tiny green frog sitting in a driver's seat with a steering wheel. The frog is literally driving the T-Rex, and once you seal up the spine during construction, you'll never see it again. So why did they do this? Well, in Jurassic Park, the scientists used frog DNA to complete missing sections of the dinosaur's genetic code. So in a way, the frog really is controlling the T-Rex. This reference is so clever and so perfectly hidden that it's become one of those things builders get genuinely excited about discovering. It's not advertised anywhere on the box. You just stumble across it when you build it and go, wait, what? And that's what makes it so good. Moving away from memes for a second, LEGO's also done some really meaningful tributes to real history. In 2017, they released the Women of NASA set, and one of the scenes recreates the famous 1969 photograph of computer scientist Margaret Hamilton standing next to stacks of software code that she wrote for the Apollo 11 mission. Hamilton led the team that developed the onboard flight software for the Apollo missions, and her work was absolutely crucial to getting humans to the moon and back safely. The code she wrote had to account for every possible scenario, and it ended up saving the Apollo 11 mission when unexpected warnings appeared during the lunar landing. Seeing LEGO honor her work like this is genuinely really cool. It's one of those references that isn't funny or memey, it's just respectful and important. But let's go back to Minecraft for a second, because LEGO actually predicted the future twice. Chicken Jockey wasn't the only meme that came out of the Minecraft movie. It wasn't nearly as big, but the song Steve sang while the chicken was cooking definitely got some attention online. In the movie, he sang this song at an outdoor market stall, and the same exact stall is in the Gas Balloon Village Attack set. Now, this one is way more of an accident than Chicken Jockey, but we might need to see if LEGO has a time machine anyway, just to be sure. Anyways, remember that Monkey Kid Spider Queen set I mentioned earlier with the Lo-Fi Girl? Well, that same set is absolutely loaded with Easter eggs. Inside the mech's abdomen next to the Lo-Fi Girl, there's also a Tetris game displayed on one of the screens. Just a casual nod to one of the most iconic video games ever made. But here's where it gets really specific. This is that UK dinner I mentioned in the intro. One of the displays shows parmo, which is a dish that's basically breaded chicken cutlet with bechamel sauce with cheese. It's super popular in Northeast England, specifically in places like Middlesbrough and the Teesside area. The fact that this made it into a LEGO set means a UK designer definitely worked on this build and decided to sneak in a reference to their favorite local food. And honestly, I love that kind of personal touch. It's such a random specific thing that most people would just gloss right over. While I'm backtracking, there's something I forgot in the Lord of the Rings video game too. There's an achievement called Taking the Hobbits to Isengard that you get by reaching Isengard with every playable Hobbit. If you've been on the internet long enough, you know exactly what this is referencing. In 2006, someone uploaded a really weird song about how the Hobbits are going to Isengard on YouTube. And almost 20 years later, the video's gotten over 40 million views. This is a super old reference for sure, but it definitely deserved to be there. Staying with Lord of the Rings, the Rivendell set from 2023 has a tiny recreation of lembas bread. In the movies, there's a really funny scene where Legolas tells Pippin and his friend that just one small bite can fill the stomach of a grown man. After he walks away, Pippin's friend asks him how much he ate, and apparently he ate 4. In the official pictures for the set, Pippin is holding a piece of this bread, which only makes sense considering what he did. But this next one's kinda wild. In the Peter Parker's apartment set from 2025, there's a computer sticker where Anti-Venom's pose recreates the iconic image from the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot movie from 1967. You know, that grainy footage that supposedly shows Bigfoot walking through the woods? That side profile shot where the creature is mid-stride has become the image associated with Bigfoot. And for some reason, LEGO went and turned it into a Spider-Man Easter egg. The fact that they even thought to do this is hilarious. So clearly LEGO has a pretty big funny bone, but they also have a big heart too. Back in 2014, LEGO released the exosuit from the Ideas theme, and the two minifigures are named Pete and Eve. These are actually named after the fan designer Peter Reed and his girlfriend Yvonne Doyle, who's now his wife. They're literally immortalized together as classic space minifigures, making them the first real-life couple represented in an official LEGO Ideas set. That's honestly really wholesome, and it started a tradition of LEGO including personal references to fan designers in Ideas sets. The exosuit itself is this cool green mech that's designed to look like it's from the classic space theme from the 80s. So putting the fan designer and his girlfriend in as the pilots is perfect. But the love train keeps going in the Volkswagen camper van set from 2011. Inside the window, there's a tile piece that reads, "Make LEGO models, not war." It's a play on the 1960s anti-war slogan, "Make love, not war." And it fits perfectly with the whole hippie culture associated with Volkswagen buses. The Volkswagen Type 1 camper van became a symbol of the counterculture movement in the 60s and 70s. It's such a specific reference that you'd never notice it unless you were really paying attention. But once you see it, it makes perfect sense. This next one's another fan designer reference, and it's extra deep. In the Home Alone set from 2021, Kevin's unused plane ticket shows he should have flown with Adwind Airlines. Adwind is the LEGO Ideas username of fan designer Alex Storazuk, who made the original submission for a Home Alone set. But wait, there's more. On a poster in Buzz's room, there's a comic book hero named Oleski Storazuk, which is Alex's full name. This poster shows this superhero character with a yellow cape, like it's the first issue of a comic book series. LEGO put not one, but two references to him in this set, and honestly, that's a really cool way to honor the person who made it all possible. Going back in time again, in the Ninjago City Workshop set, there's a sticker featuring Sora in a very familiar pose. She's recreating the "We Can Do It" World War II poster designed by J. Howard Miller in 1943. It became an iconic symbol of women working in factories during the war, and is still one of the most recognizable posters to this day. So LEGO turned it into a Ninjago character, and the Ninjargon translates to power. It's such a cool tribute to an iconic piece of history, and it fits perfectly with Sora's character. Speaking of Ninjago City Workshops, that same set has another Akira bike slide reference. So if you're keeping count, LEGO's now done the Akira slide twice in Ninjago. They really love that motorcycle slide, and honestly, I can't blame them. It's iconic, it looks cool, and it's become such a big part of pop culture that literally everyone recognizes it. This next one's in the Able Sisters clothing shop set from the Animal Crossing theme. When you go to build the trees, you might notice that you have to put a flower inside one of them. This is referencing how trees in Animal Crossing can hide surprises like fruit, bells, or furniture that shake loose when you hit them. It's such a perfect little nod to the game's mechanics. You're literally hiding something inside the tree that you'll never see again. Just like in the game, how you never know what's in a tree until you shake it out. It's one of those references that shows the designers understood what makes Animal Crossing so special. So of course I had to talk about it. And those are 20 insane LEGO references to real life that you probably never noticed. Just like most sets in this theme, it isn't the prettiest, but it's got an insane play feature that's taken straight from the game. If you've ever ended up in the jungle, I'm sure you've run into a temple at one point or another. We all know about the booby traps that are waiting for you in there, but there's also a puzzle that lets you bypass all of them. The only problem is that it's really hard to solve, and because of that, it's made a pretty big name for itself over the years. So when LEGO made the Jungle Temple set, they had no choice but to put that same puzzle in the set. Just like how it works in game, once you solve it, you get a free pass to the loot. And as cool as this is, it's not even close to the coolest in-game function brought over to LEGO. That one's in the Ocean Monument set. Do you remember the first time you saw someone with an underwater house? That was literally the coolest thing to me when I was a kid, but it's a lot more simple than I thought. All you need is a sponge, and once you place it, the water gets absorbed and turns into air. And you can actually recreate this in the Ocean Monument set. This corner piece on the right is removable, and that's where you can find the sponge. Once you have that, you can connect it to the single stud plate at the top of the waterfall. And just like that, the sponge soaks up all the water. In my opinion, this is by far one of the coolest play play functions in the whole theme. But did you know that LEGO designers made a minifigure to honor the origin of the Creeper? Fun fact, the Creeper was actually never supposed to exist. The creator of the game was trying to make a pig, but messed up the coding and ended up with the design we've always had. But how did LEGO reference this? Well, if you buy the Creeper set, it comes with a pig minifigure in the shape of a creeper. When you build the set, it's technically supposed to go inside the creeper's head. But I don't know. I think a minifigure this cool needs to be on display. Speaking of displaying LEGO, did you know that the most famous Minecraft sets can be built in a bunch of different ways? You can do it with the bee farm, the abandoned mine, the first night, but there's one set in particular that's really well known for it, the Bedrock Adventures set. LEGO even made a video about it on their channel, but the fact that this set can do this isn't what I want to tell you about. This is a video about small details, remember? What I want to tell you is that you can find every ore from the overworld in this set, and before you kill me, it came out in 2018, so there were a lot less ores back then. LEGO hardly advertised this. All they did was show a picture of Steve with all 7 of them. But when this set came out, it was literally the only one in LEGO Minecraft that had all of them. If you think this is exclusive though, just wait until you hear what's in the end battle set. At first glance, this set really doesn't look like much. And honestly, it isn't. But the exclusive part about it is all in one brick. Literally. Every single one of these sets came with a brick that had a 25-digit code on it. And when you enter the code online, you'd unlock a skin in-game that looks just like the minifigure from the set. So yeah, the set's pretty small. But LEGO literally gave you a skin just for buying it. Isn't that sick? I gotta say though, the skin is literally the only reason I'd buy it. So it's a good thing LEGO made the Ender Dragon set to make up for it. This one has 3 times the amount of pieces, and everything actually looks really good. But I'm not just here to compliment it. There's one small thing that sets it apart from the End battle set. You know how when you fight the Ender Dragon, the End crystals light up and start healing him in the middle of the fight? Well, the Ender Dragon set comes with a light brick, and even though it's only one of them, you can make an End crystal light up, just like how they do in the game. This isn't the only set with this special brick in it either. The Mountain Cave set has one too, and it's full of stuff that lights up. Now, unfortunately, LEGO only gives you one of these light bricks, so you can't have all of this stuff lit up at the same time. But let me show you just how many there really are. Number 1, a furnace. There's one sitting inside the bedroom at the top of the set, and if you put the light brick in the side of the mountain, you can light it up and make it look like it's actually cooking something. Number 2, the spider spawner. Down in the cave, there's a little spider spawner. For this one, all you have to do is put it in behind the spawner, and voila, it lights up. Number 3, lava. Along with the spider spawner, there's also some lava down in the cave. And obviously, lava needs to be bright. So if you put the light brick in from the front of the set, you can make it shine. Number 4, torches. There are 2 torches you can bring to life in this set, and for one of them, the spot to put the light brick in is actually right next to the lava. Once it's in place, it lights up the torch on the outside of the cave entrance. But where's the other one? Well, this one is kind of 2 small details in one, but there's a dirt wall that can be completely taken out of place. Inside, there's a little makeshift room, probably because someone couldn't make it back to their house before the mobs came out. But you can make this torch light up too. The 5th and final thing that lights up in this set is redstone. If you make your way back into the cave, you'll see some redstone near the lava. Again, this is one that has to light up. So to do that, just put the light brick in from the outside and watch it do just that. Clearly, LEGO went pretty hard with these light up spots. But another thing they love adding to Minecraft sets are secret spawners. And no, I don't mean spawners like the spider one in the set I just showed you. I mean secret ones where the mobs just jump out at you. The first one is in the Iron Golem set, and honestly, when I look at this set, I really can't tell where the spawner is, but that's because it's hidden really well. This build with a pumpkin on top is actually how you make an Iron Golem in-game. So when you push it back, an entire plate lifts up, and a golem spawns in out of nowhere. See what I mean? This spawner was hidden really well. Let's look at another one. There's a secret zombie spawner in the dungeon set, and again, it's super hard to spot. See this zombie in the back corner over here? Well, you can actually flip the entire part he's standing on to the outside of the set. Once you do that, he makes for a pretty good jump scare. The last spawner I want to show you though is in the skeleton dungeon set. And if you couldn't tell by the name, it's a skeleton spawner. Just like the zombie spawner, the part the skeleton is standing on in the corner can be flipped to the outside of the set. Only this time, it rotates instead of flipping upside down. Once it's gone, the set barely looks any different. So when you flip it back around, it makes for a pretty good secret spawner. LEGO really likes adding little play functions like this. They want the people who buy these sets to play with them, not leave them on display. Another way they make sure of that is by using knobs, and you can find one in the Deep Dark Battle set. This set takes place in the deep dark biome, and what happens when you take a wrong step here? The warden steps in. Whenever he isn't aggroed, he's hiding underground, waiting for someone to piss him off. And when he does get angry, he pops out immediately. So to recreate that, LEGO added a knob to the side of the set that pops the warden out when you turn it. It's a really simple feature, but it really shows that LEGO cares about recreating the game in real life. Another set with a slick little knob is the Coral Reef set. This set is tiny, so it must be pretty easy to see the knob, right? Well, not exactly. It's kind of hiding in plain sight, unlike the one for the warden. I mean, that one's basically begging you to turn it. This one is a color-matched round brick on the side of the yellow archway, and when you turn it, a chest hiding in the coral slides out. It's nothing too special, but even in a set that only has 92 pieces, you still get a really cool play feature. At the end of the day, though, LEGO's still pretty selfish, because even in the Minecraft theme, they couldn't help but slip in a reference to themselves. It's hiding in the Enderman Tower set, and just like the pig and the creeper set, this one's hidden in the minifigures. Wait a minute, let's look at these minifigs. These two guys don't look like anybody. They just look like random Minecraft skins. Well, that's because this reference is really hard to know about. Basically, this minifigure right here is actually supposed to be Nick Bluetooth, the main character from everyone's favorite theme, Galador. LEGO named this minifigure the Dimensional Defender, hinting at the fact that he isn't from the Minecraft universe. So even though it's a pretty hard one to know about, when you put the two side by side, yeah, that's definitely Nick Bluetooth. If we're going to talk about different dimensions though, I have to show you this ruined portal set. The whole point of this set is that it's a broken nether portal that needs to be put back together. Just like the game, everything you need is around you. All you have to do is put the stuff in the right places. You can use the obsidian bricks on the side to put the actual portal back together, and then you can use some cobblestone to make it all symmetrical. Unfortunately, this isn't actually Minecraft, so it's not like you can take some flint and steel to this thing and watch the portal spawn in. But you can lift the solid gray pieces on the side to make it slide up from the bottom. As much as I wish there was some way to use flint and steel to make this happen, this is still really sick. Wait a minute, now that I think about it, I haven't shown you any Easter eggs with animals, and there are definitely a few of them in LEGO Minecraft, so let me do that really quick. In the Pirate Ship Voyage set, you can find a funny little camel. And what's the one thing about camels that makes them super popular? They can go a really long time without water. Like, a really long time. So because of that, LEGO added a blue 2x4 brick on the inside of its body. Oh, and just so you know, camels don't technically store water in their humps. So no, LEGO should not have had little blue studs to represent it. Anyways, another set with an animal Easter egg is the Gas Balloon Village Attack set. Now, there's a lot going on in this set, including the fact that LEGO had to use tensegrity, which is awesome, but that's not what we're here for. See this giant chicken over here? Well, if you pull on its beak, an egg will pop out underneath it. I don't think you need to pull on a chicken's beak to make them lay eggs, so don't go trying this in real life or anything. But hey, it makes for a funny Easter egg. The last animal Easter egg I want to show you though is in the Wolf Stronghold set. Now, when you hit a wolf in Minecraft, its eyes turn all red and it starts aggroing you. A lot of different mobs do this if you hit them, but the thing I want you to focus on here are the red eyes. The Wolf Stronghold has a giant wolf at the top of it, and if you want to aggro it, you can take his eyes and turn them around. Then you'll end up with those red eyes you get when you pick a fight with one in-game. Out of all the animal Easter eggs I just showed you, this one is probably the coolest. Not only is it accurate to the game, but it changes the entire atmosphere of the set. Okay, there's one last detail I want to show you, and to make sure we end with a bang, I want to show you something hidden deep inside the crafting table set. Now, before you get disappointed, don't worry, I'm not just going to tell you about the tiles Easter egg underneath all the biomes. Mine goes deeper than that. Literally. You have to take apart the entire set to see it. But do you notice anything about this color scheme? There are only a few colors here, but that's because they represent the lava and bedrock at the bottom of every world in Minecraft. The designer of this set really wanted to impress people, and as if he didn't do it already, this Easter egg just moved it up a notch in my book. But what was your favorite detail in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.